I'm trying to see if we can make this happen on a number of different platforms. So um, if I can get my device working here, because I do want to put it on. A lot of folks have been talking about doing the live stream horizontally, and I'm trying to make that happen as we speak. So I'm just going to stream it horizontal here, and I'm just trying to make sure everything on the advanced settings is set up, which looks like it is. Okay, so let me see if it'll. No, yes. What's happening is YouTube is not allowing me to do them both at the same time. All right, so until I figure that out, we'll go ahead and start the live off. We're going to talk about two different things. And one being, obviously, that Trump is in the news for all of this Liz Cheney stuff. Clearly, the Democrats and the liberals have a totally different take on what happened. You know, Trump talking about putting Liz Cheney in front of 9 rifles and that she's a warmonger, and folks are saying that, you know, he wasn't talking about hurting her. He was talking about she would not like going through what she's sending soldiers to go through. We'll talk about that. But in addition to that, I want to ask what might be on many of our minds. Are you concerned? 2 days. You got, 3 days, Sunday, Monday, and we're voting on Tuesday. So essentially 2+ days until the election. I'm asking this question. Are you concerned about the state of America come Wednesday morning? You ever watch the old Will Smith movie, what was it called, Independence Day? And then you see what happened on July 4th with the aliens attacking America, whatever. Anyhow, the next morning, it says July 5th. You got the Statue of Liberty laying horizontal and there's smoldering rubble. How do you feel about Wednesday, the day after Election Day? Do you feel like America will easily pull through this? Or do you feel like we might be on the cusp of something historically chaotic, historically bad, regardless of who wins? Regardless of who wins, there are many entities, many different groups that believe that if one person wins or the other, it is essentially the end of America. Make no mistake about it, it's happening on both sides. There are plenty of Trump supporters that believe Kamala Harris is on the cusp of destroying America. And there are plenty of Democrats that are using words like end of democracy, end of the republic. So what I want to ask you folks is, simple question. Are you concerned about this election in terms of whether we will deal with it like elections of the past? Because some folks are saying it's just that serious. By the way, there are businesses in the nation's capital, in Washington, D.C., similar to a hurricane in Florida, that have already began proactively boarding their businesses up. There are businesses in Florida, in Washington, D.C. that are already doing this. So clearly there are some folks that are concerned. But I want to ask you folks, and I do appreciate that, Luigi, thank you for sharing the live. I don't often ask folks to do that, but absolutely, feel free to do that. Thank you for sharing the live. So we'll go straight to the comments. You know how the program is ran. We are MAGA friendly. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. We go left of Bernie Sanders, Trump having dinner with Q. Everybody gets to speak. You can be critical of anyone in the damn comment section. You can be critical of the host. That's how free speech works. So looking in the comments, they aren't boarding up because of MAGA, says garbage Trump supporter. Love the name, garbage Trump supporters. You guys are making good use of that. How about some immigrants? After former President Trump stated that we are like the garbage can of the world, should have some immigrants walking around. Garbage Mexican, garbage Venezuelan. You know that term could go both ways. We're talking a lot about Biden referring to Trump supporters as garbage. We've kind of forgotten about the fact that Trump essentially said all the immigrants coming to this country are garbage too. So that comment could go both ways. I just want to point that out. You could easily have a bunch of Mexicans in a garbage truck with the word garbage on the side of it as well. He did say America is like the world's dumping ground. And I see in the comments, Danny said he didn't say that. Yeah, he did say that. What do you mean he didn't say that? He definitely said that. Trump, I like that graphic. Appreciate the hat mustache, big dog. Yeah! Smoking Parmesan. Thank you for, I appreciate the graphic, but I don't want a bunch of people repeating that because you do prevent others from typing in because your graphic is so large, but it is neat. I like it. It looks pretty good. Looking in the comments, I just want to before we go to the box. I don't know what I'm looking at here. Thank you for sharing the live there, Diva Nola Queen. Thank you. So looking in the comments, no Cammy the Commie. That's coming from Laura Answer on YouTube. You says, what is Kamala? I want to, because I've heard this before, even from President Trump himself. Because remember, he don't want to be called garbage or have his supporters called garbage. Why are they calling Kamala Harris a communist? What is she proposing? How is she behaving that would lead folks to believe she's trying to turn us into China, Vietnam? What is she proposing that's making her worthy of that label? I do want to point that out because if it is wrong to suggest that Trump and his supporters are garbage, tell me how it makes sense to refer to her as a communist. What is she talking about? She's talking about, I'm thinking about Putin. I'm thinking about Xi Jinping. I'm thinking about Kim Jong-un. What is Kamala Harris doing that is similar to how they run their governments? I don't see the communism part in it. I'd be curious to know, a black communist? Do they make those? Looking in the comments, Peanut the Squirrel is watching from heaven. I don't know who Peanut the Squirrel is. Going to the box, Mr. Greenland. Wow, good conversation. I haven't talked to Mr. Greenland in a while. Coming to us straight from Greenland. Are you concerned with the election? Good evening or good afternoon.
Yeah. Now, I just want to. I've been following you all along, but
we've talked a few times.
Yeah.
So, what I want to ask you now, you're in Greenland. Are you folks over there now? You're obviously thousands of miles away on the other side of the world. What time is it there, by the way?
15:55.
3 in the morning. Okay, so almost 4 in the morning. So, yeah. Are you concerned? Do you folks have any concern with what's going on in U.S. politics?
Yes, of course we do.
Why?
Yeah, America is the biggest country in the world, most worthless country in the world, and has the most influence what's going to happen in the future. So we do have to follow what's going on in U.S.
Yeah. If Trump, which one? I'm assuming Trump, or is it Kamala? Who are you most concerned with? I think we've talked, I believe it's Trump.
Of course it is.
Yeah. So what are you concerned as a citizen of Greenland? Why are you concerned with whether Trump is elected? And we've had him for 4 years before, so some would say we didn't have any issues then. So what makes you concerned if Trump gets reelected?
Man, all the problems you have right now in the U.S. is because of Trump. And all the problems what we have in the world right now is because of Trump.
Give me some examples.
Yeah, it's because, example, one of the is pandemic. Right now is because war in Ukraine. Because he made NATO weaker.
Yeah. You think Russia invading the Ukraine has something to do with Trump?
Not directly, indirectly, yes.
Give me I need to hear your explanation. How indirectly is Trump responsible for this?
He obviously had a backdoor agreement with Putin, and Putin was telling him, in my opinion, back out of anything what he wants to do. So Trump was following what Putin said.
How might you respond to folks who might suggest that the only reason Putin went into the Ukraine is because we had Biden as a president and Putin sensed him as a weak leader?
No, Putin was preparing much earlier before even Biden became president.
So you believe now if Trump had won a second term, do you think Russia would be in the Ukraine?
Definitely.
So it's going to happen either way.
Yeah.
Mm.
But if Trump was in the office right now, Ukraine already have lost.
Wow. And what makes you say that?
Because the U.S. would never had sent weapons.
Yeah, a lot of folks are saying, yeah. And I mean, I think Trump, too, himself has made it clear he's not interested in assisting the Ukraine. So, but Trump is saying if he gets reelected, he could end that war in 24 hours.
Yeah, he wants to give all Ukraine to Russia. That's it.
Mm. You don't think he would just maybe get them to negotiate and stand down?
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, for me, the directly and shortest way to explain what kind of politics you have in U.S. You were just talking about communists and that, and communists that,
yes.
And communists who.
They're referring to Kamala Harris as a communist. Do you see any? I mean, I don't know how much of this you're watching, but do you see any similarities between her and a communist government?
No. In America, you do not have any left-wing politicians.
In America, we do not have any left-wing politicians. You need to elaborate on that because we're always talking about the loony left. We're talking about radical left. We hear that all the time in America. You're saying there are no left-wing politicians in this country. Why do you say that?
Because in Greenland, even AOC or Bernie Sanders would not get elected to be two extreme right-wing versions of our politicians.
How is Bernie Sanders or AOC considered right-wing in Greenland? How would they be considered to the right?
Because what kind of politics do you have? You are very, very much what I forgot the word, but you financially you are not helping people. Your school system, you have to have a private school system, and you still have to pay for everything. School, healthcare, everything, you still have to pay for it. And in our country, we do not have to pay 1 cent in school. We even get money to go to school.
Mm. So your government would be what many here in this country would call the socialist government.
Yeah.
Mm. Do you want to pattern yourselves after America? I mean, we are the richest country on earth. Would you not want to give up your system for our system of capitalism?
No. I think our system works much, much better and safer system. If I get sick, I will get help. Wow. I don't have to lose my house or my income. People would help. Government would help.
Wow. Well, you know, in this system, we tend to be a self-reliance system where if you find yourself in trouble, you need to figure it out. I mean, America's not a big fan of helping out the downtrodden like that. It's like, you know, I figured my way out of it. You need to figure your way out of it. So we are a bit different on that.
Yeah, and I hope just trying to tell you what kind of politics system what do we have, and it's working very much in our country, and definitely it would work in America if you tried it in, for example, one municipality or one state, and you would not go back. It's because it's working much better than what you have right now, because we love to help each other.
Mm. I gotta move it on, but before I do, one last question. This came from Kim Hernandez in the comments, and Kim says, how long do you have to wait to have surgery or a procedure in your socialist medical system? Are there like long waits?
It depends what kind of surgery I need. It's not perfect, but everybody gets help. I had a couple of years ago a hernia, and I think I wait about 8 months for my hernia, but that was not a surprise, and you take it as it is. But if it was a life-threatening, I would have get help right away.
Fair enough. All right, I got to move it on, Mr. Greenland. Good talking to you again, though. Feel free to come through anytime.
Yeah, I hopefully I just made a little dent on some of undecided voters.
It's pretty close, man. Pretty close. Thanks for coming through. Appreciate it. I will say this, because anytime you talk about a socialized healthcare system, people do bring up there's long wait lines and things like that. What you don't normally hear about in our system is the fact that a lot of people who have needed procedures get denied by their insurance. That is the opposite of that. We don't really talk about that much. We talk about all of the wait lines of a socialized system, but when you're talking about insurance companies that make, their decisions based on the profit margin, there's a whole lot of Americans that'll tell you I needed this prescription or I needed this surgery, and they wouldn't give it to me. But so understand there are pros and cons in both systems. A lot of Americans get turned down for all sorts of procedures. They don't cover this or they don't cover that, or your participation in the cost of it is something you can't afford. Looking in the comments though, real quick, and I see I can explain about communism and fascism, says Danis. I'd like to talk to you and figure that out. I'd be curious to know. So welcome to the program. How is Kamala Harris like Putin, Xi Jinping, or Kim Jong-un? I think that says Danis. Okay. Good evening or good afternoon.
Good evening.
Hey.
So her slogans like Kraft durch Freude, which is strength through joy, this whole sort of opportunity economy, that type of rhetoric, including
strength through joy. That's
what can be unburdened by what has been is straight up directly communist propaganda.
Okay, so if we're going to just bring up propaganda, I hate to use the deflection here, but you do realize calling immigrants vermin and poisoning the blood of America, that comes from propaganda too, right?
Sure, absolutely.
What propaganda does that come from?
So when the vermin of America, if it would be that, that's like, I don't know what you're allowed to say. Am I allowed to
use a synonym, spell it out, whatever you need to do?
Okay, so the way that I've tried to learn TikTok lingo. I don't want to harm your program,
Understood.
So Mustache Man called the people that were gassed in, I think you can say Holocaust. Can you say Holocaust?
I believe so.
Okay. The ideology was that their blood is the evil of humanity, and therefore they need to be exterminated.
Wow. So you do understand, if we judge somebody based on their propaganda, we may not have any good choices in this election.
I think that when you look at the quote unquote at the conservative side, there's an attempt to be rid of unalivers, of grape and pear and applers, and so there's actually a dedication to rid America of violence.
Yeah, but let me interrupt to say this, because you mentioned Mustache Man. You could have said the same thing about him, and when he was referring to the Jews, as he was trying to rid Germany of all of those bad things you just named, because that's what he was saying they were doing. He was trying to rid Germany of all these bad people.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the same propaganda then.
It's the same propaganda, but then it turns into, is the deportation in the United States going to be going over to your friend Jaimo, right? Mm-hmm. And and literally like putting him in a train wagon meant for animals, and you steal his store, you steal his stuff, right? You unalive his and all the other stuff to his wife and his children, and you put him in a wagon, and you just steal his homestead, you steal his house, right?
Well,
That's
if you're an
what was
illegal
happening.
immigrant, wait, hold on. If you're an illegal immigrant in America, because we're talking about getting rid of DACA, so we could be talking about immigrants that's been here for 10, 15, 20. If you're here illegally and they deport you and you own a home already, what's going to happen to it?
Well, I mean, I think that actually there are some issues with the conservative policy. So, like, it's like, oh, let's do this big deportation campaign. All right, well, you know what? My ex-wife didn't. Well, there are reasons why she's my ex-wife, but she wasn't very intelligent about living in Europe, right? So she would mess up her registration in Europe like if it was out in a year, she would mess it up in a year. If it was a 2-year thing that I helped her get 2 years, then I would have to help her. She would mess up her visa thing in Europe, like literally like clockwork. And then she'd be mad at me for trying to help her. It was just a disaster. That's why I was a full-time single dad. Okay. But she just needed to exit the country and come back. So she needed to take a nice vacation in Italy, and then she could come back.
Do you think most of the immigrants do you think most of the immigrants trying to get into America have the money to do what you advised your ex-wife to do?
Look, if Mustache Man stole people's gold, art, furniture, apartments, homesteads, farms, businesses. That's what they did.
But you didn't answer the question when I asked you. If you're here, if you're here for 10 or 15 years as an illegal immigrant, you've been hiding under the radar, and you have a car or a farm or some of the stuff you're naming, what do you think they're going to do? You're in the country illegally. You think they're going to let you keep all of that stuff?
People are not dumb. They're gonna leave that stuff with their cousin. They're gonna go.
And if they fail to do so, and if they fail to do that proactively, what's going to happen to it?
They need to be doing it now.
You didn't answer the question. If they fail to do it proactively, what's going to happen to it?
They're going to be deported, and then if they
we're talking about the property
stuff. Sorry,
we're talking about the property. If you're here illegally and they catch you and send you away, and you got gold and jewelry, all that stuff you name the Jewish people having, what's going to happen to it if they caught you before you could give it to somebody else, or if you didn't do that?
I can tell you right now, the way that you're talking to me, the two of us, along with some, whatever policymakers, we're probably going to make a good policy. We'll argue it out. We'll ham it out. It'll be good.
And you feel confident in that? You feel confident we're going to make these policies for rapists and murderers?
The rapists, they've got to go. They forfeited their right to life, period.
All right.
My dad was an Old Testament biblical scholar. Forfeit their right to life.
Yeah.
End.
The only point I'm making is you mentioned that Hitler or the Mustache Man took all this stuff from the Jewish people before, getting rid of them. And somehow you feel, considering the way we've described immigrants, we're the dumping ground of garbage. So all America's the country where everybody's sending their immigrant garbage, they're prisoners, they're coming out of insane asylums, they're poisoning the blood, they're vermin, all this rapists and murderers, but yet we're going to protect their property. They don't even do that in jail. What would make you think they're going to do this stuff?
No, for me, it's like, no, but the thing is they actually did. They did send their worst. Venezuela did that.
I get what you're saying.
They haven't been there for 10 years. They've been there for a few months, and they're doing exactly what they've been doing. And yeah. I mean, I cannot believe either party would make it a part of their election policy to be like, yeah, let's let these hardened criminals stay without being vetted in our country. That's so unbelievably inane. Neither party should be doing that.
Well, here's the problem with that. You can't vet. I mean, Venezuela has no stable government. Some of these countries do not have a stable government, so there's no way to vet them. Like the Haitian migrants, for instance. There's a major civil conflict going on in that country. So anybody that comes to America and tells you they're seeking asylum coming from that, well, I need to vet you first. I need to run your papers by the Haitian government, make sure you're not a criminal. There is no government. So you would be turning away virtually anybody coming from a war zone. There's no government to vet them with.
Look, the reason my mother never became a U.S. citizen is because they rejected my family. So okay. I'm a U.S. citizen because I was born in the States. So like, still.
I'm just saying, if you required that all immigrants coming into America be first vetted, any country that is going through a civil war or going through a major war, you would take no immigrants. You think Germany, when the Jews were hang on, when the Jews were trying to flee Germany, you think you could have vetted those people coming here? You think Adolf would have gave you proof that they were a good citizen?
What they had in their suitcases? Do you know what they had in their suitcases? Do you know what they had in their suitcases?
What did they have in their suitcase?
Heroin.
What are you talking about?
Come on, man.
Who had heroin? Give me the group of people that tried to migrate to America with a suitcase full of heroin.
It is the lightest, most expensive thing. So in other words, you were a Jewish person in Austria or Germany or Switzerland, and you had a multi-million-dollar business, and they took everything. And what they did is they gave you $1, $2, $3 million worth of heroin. And then you took your little heroin suitcase, and then you went through New York, and that's how you came into the States. That happened.
Okay, so you're saying that Jewish immigrants that tried to come to America were carrying narcotics?
That's what they were doing. Yes, that's the World War II history. This happened. That happened.
All right, I'll leave it at that. I do got to move it on, but
we're taking you to Auschwitz, or you can't. Gold is too heavy.
They paid him in heroin. I've never heard this before.
Look this up. I put my name on it. My name is Dinas W. Mickle. I'm the only Dinas W. Mickle on this planet. Put my name right on that.
I'm gonna leave that alone, but I will say this: I would be curious to know the source, because it's not your opinion I'm concerned with. The source that you would provide is where I would be concerned, because most of America's never heard this before. So
well, everybody has heard of. My dad was a biblical scholar. He was an Old Testament professor. The Old Testament is the ancient Hebrew texts.
All right, Dennis,
just look this up. Look this one up. But I don't know. Did we want to talk about something else?
No, we're good. I got to move on. I do have to talk to other guests, but I do appreciate you coming through. Anytime. Right. And I will say this. As far as I'm concerned, I still do not believe I have seen a comparison where Kamala Harris should be referred to as a communist. I'm not seeing it. Now, he did bring up propaganda that I assume that if you go through everything Biden has said, Obama has said, Trump has said, you could probably tie their statement, some statement they made somewhere, to just about any form of government on earth. Remember, we're always taking Trump out of context. But Kamala Harris, her propaganda makes her a communist? Wow. Anyhow, looking in the comments, continuing on with the program, was heroin even a thing? Then yeah, it was a thing, but the Jewish coming here with heroin, he's the first person I've ever heard say something like that. Keep in mind, America was very anti-immigrant to Jewish fleeing the Holocaust. We did not take many of them in. We later, I forgot which administration, well after World War II, but they did ultimately apologize to the Jews because we left them hanging. We did not provide much help for them. Once again, we were calling them communists. We were calling the Jews trying to flee the whole. We didn't want to let them in because we were calling them communists. DJ Julio, appreciate Elvis. Look there. How many votes do you think Kamala Harris will get? I have no guess, says Oakview. Tens of millions. Tens of millions. And it ain't because she's some great politician. There are tens of millions of Americans that hate Trump that much. I'd submit to you this: a dog running for the Democratic ticket or running against Trump would get at least 40. Get at least 40. There are a lot of people that don't like Trump. That's not to say he won't win. I'm not going to say Kamala Harris has it wrapped up or Trump's going to lose. He may win. But I am saying, I see somebody in the comments said, I'm one of them that would vote for a dog over Trump. There's at least, I'd say probably around 40 million people that would vote for anybody else you put in the slot other than Trump. They don't like him just that much. I've got to assume Liz Cheney is not one of those little bow wow ladies. And I appreciate the subscription. Before we continue with the program, I wanted to give a shout out to who just subscribed. That was Uma Dog. Thank you. Appreciate that. So thanks for supporting the program. Always a pleasure. Like I said, I always give my subscribers first digs in the box as well. So thank you. Trump is too old. Young people need new blood. Dementia. The dementia things that are going to work with Trump this close to the election, Karina. Now, people who served under Trump's first administration are saying that he does look like he's losing it, but it hasn't gained anywhere near the steam that it did under Biden. And it's too close to the election. Continuing on with the program, Dencal, good evening. Welcome in. I'm saying afternoon. I've been used to doing them in the evening, but good afternoon, Dencal. Now, Dencal, Kamala, the communist. What say you? That's what I'm hearing.
How did we get here, man? How did we get here from she's a far left candidate 4 years ago to now she's a commie?
I'll tell you how
what happened in between?
I'll tell you how we got here. Fact is, calling a left-wing candidate a socialist is not that painful anymore. A lot of people are not benefiting under capitalism, and calling people a socialist is not that big of a strike. So they've realized the socialist moniker is not hurting like it used to during the Obama days, so they had to go to something stronger. Communists.
So you saying socialist is the gateway drug the gateway to communism? When you can't get enough of that, if you can't get enough of that socialism, you got to go up to communism to get the fix you need. Huh?
That's my opinion, because I don't see Kamala Harris looking like Kim Jong-un or Xi Jinping or Vietnam. I don't see, there's nothing she's promising that would turn us into a government we know as communist. Huh?
She's literally up there talking about let's do this together. Let's move away from all of this crazy stuff, and that's the label they put on her. It's crazy.
Not only that, but she's talking about putting a Republican in her administration. You think Putin talks like that? I want to put one of my adversarial party members in. I mean, it's crazy. This is what they're saying, though.
Listen, the guy before me is literally an anchor baby talking about. Talking about who should and shouldn't be in this country, man.
Yeah. But you know the crazy thing is there are a lot of immigrants or descendants of immigrants for Trump. A lot of Hispanics are voting for Trump, and they're sounding just like my last guest.
Yeah, that's the part that I can't understand. Like he's literally talking about them. Like Trump wants to ban birthright citizenship. He wants to get rid of that dude that was on here. Talking about he was born here, but his parents couldn't get citizenship. He's exactly who Trump is talking about getting rid of that don't belong in this country.
Yeah, I don't get it, because a lot of folks are supporting Trump for his immigration policies, and it's a case of, like you just said, if you could go back in time to when you came here or how you came up, and you had a Trump guy at that period, he would not have let you stay. What he's proposing would have prevented you from staying.
What he's proposing would have prevented his wife's parents, Trump's wife's parents, from coming.
Yeah. Well, they're not from a shithole country, though. So Melania would have been allowed in. Melania's not from a shithole country.
Well, that's not what he said. He was talking about birthright citizenship. He's talking about all of the getting rid of these visa programs. It ain't had nothing to do with where you come from. We always are able to put a caveat or say that there's some nuance to what he said, but there's not. He didn't say that. He said we need to get rid of birthright citizenship. He didn't say just for the SO countries.
Yeah. Now I want to run the other topic by you. I'm curious to get your opinion because I'm being told that we're taking Trump out of context. Before I go into it, I'm going to ask you folks to tap the screen, get the likes up to about 30,000. Got almost 400 of you in here. We can certainly make that happen if you show the program some support by tapping your screen. Get the likes up to about 40,000. Smash that like button on YouTube as well. Try to get us to about 40. We can certainly do that. Trump and Liz Cheney. Folks are saying that the whole defense of Liz Cheney, completely out of context, Trump was not threatening her in any way, fashion, or form. What say you, Denkel?
He said her name and he said what should happen to her. I don't understand what is there to debate or to. I'm not understanding what the question is.
The belief is he sees Liz Cheney and many others in Washington as warmongers, and he was just simply saying, how would they feel if they were on the other side of the gun? But he wasn't actually threatening to take her life or anything of that nature. That's what folks who are in defense of Trump are claiming.
What he called her a warmonger, so that means he was specifically talking about her.
He was talking about her, but he wasn't talking about harming her, is what they're saying.
If
I know. I'm just giving you what I got. I'm giving you what I got.
If I say a black man should be subjected to this type of punishment, and you a black man, I was talking about you.
Yeah, but they're saying she is calling for war, calling for all these conflicts, and she's insensitive to what the people are going through. So maybe if she had to realize what they went through, meaning that she's looking down a barrel of 9 different rifles, she wouldn't be so much of a warmonger.
I mean, I don't know if listening to him say something like that could sway a person's opinion about her or war hawks or whatever. But if he's going to say that about people that were in his party, about their political leanings, then he would have to disavow almost the whole Republican Party.
That's a good point because I've said the same thing. It's crazy that MAGA, in defense of Trump, is calling Liz Cheney a warmonger. Like, how the hell do you think she kept winning all those times? It wasn't liberals voting for her. If you're 40 years of age or older and you support Trump, you're likely the reason why Liz Cheney was allowed to be who she was all those years, because you're the ones that were voting for her. When the liberals were speaking out against warmongers, they were being called unpatriotic. Remember Cindy Sheehan? She hated America. But all of a sudden, now you're pointing out warmongers? I've never seen it before.
They had a lot of the Democrats convinced. They was telling us all the stuff that Cheney and Rumsfeld and all of them was telling us. They had us geeked. We was like, yeah, let's get them.
Yeah.
So I mean, if being what he considered a warmonger or a neocon or whatever you want to call him, that was the whole Republican Party.
Yeah. I don't, here's the thing I would say also. All of Liz Cheney's warmongering, all of that happened before Trump was president. Why bring it up now? I mean, she's not even in...
She hasn't advocated. I've heard for anything that's going on now. She hasn't said, anything either way that I know of about about what's going on. But the thing about it is, we are technically, we're not at war. We're not sending troops to die. So why is he even conflating that, talking about putting her in front of a squad?
Yeah, Miss Jamie, thanks for the hat and mustache. Yeah, the thing I don't get is, why not bring it up when it was actually, I'm not aware of any warmonger she did either, but she's a citizen now. Her days of being in Congress are over. Why not bring it up when she was actually doing it? This is kind of like the Kamala Harris locking up black men. Where were the Republicans that were complaining about it when it was actually happening? Bringing it up 30 years later doesn't help anybody out.
They were cheering it on when it was happening.
Yeah. And the warmongering too. My guess
Yes,
is, yeah.
they were happy about it. And a quick question I want to ask of you. Do you think, looking back in hindsight, in a lot of the people saying that there was never ever a switch or a shift in the parties, which we know there was.
Yeah.
Do you think this might be a time in the future where we're going to look back and say that there was a major shift in the parties to where it's not going to look anything like it did?
It depends on what happens on Tuesday. If Trump wins, yes. If Trump loses, it'll be a pick up the pieces moment for the Republican Party, because nobody else running that party, at least right now, has the power of Trump. So if Trump loses, a lot of folks that are chiding Trump and speaking favorably of Trump, like the Lindsey Graham's and Ted Cruz's and Marco Rubio's, they'll go back to what they were once they don't have the fear of Trump and MAGA destroying their careers. So we'll start going back towards the traditional Republican Party. But if Trump wins, then yes, the answer to your question is yes, this will be the time when we realize the Republican Party ceased to exist and it became the MAGA Party.
Right. So people like Liz Cheney and the people like her, you think they will become Democrats? If he wins?
No.
If he wins?
There's no, Liz Cheney is now a politician without a home. The Democrats are not going to, I mean, her voting history is solid red. They're not, I mean, just because that's like Tulsi Gabbard. Okay, the Republicans like her, but her voting history is likely blue. Liz Cheney has a solid red voting history. Why would the Democrats take her? Okay, she's critical of Trump. There are places for her, but it shouldn't be in Congress, the Senate, a governor job. I mean, no, I don't. She's out of it. In my opinion, she's done.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of them. We use her name, but there's a lot of people who are traditional Republicans who are saying that they just cannot get behind the platform of what is now the Republican Party. We call it MAGA, but they have changed the whole platform.
Yeah.
If you read the Republican platform, it's different than it was 10 years ago.
I wouldn't waste time reading the Republican platform. In my opinion, the Republican, I'm just saying my opinion on it is.
I know, it's just funny.
The Republican platform is Trump. Doesn't matter what the hell you read, even if he wrote it. If he changes his mind tomorrow, people are going to follow him with the change. So it doesn't matter what's written down as the platform. The Republican platform is Trump. If he said today, we need to start reaching out to some of our enemies and not just being hateful to everybody. Let's start speaking with Kim Jong-un or Vladimir Putin. The right would be okay with that. If the next day he said, these people are assholes, they're a scum of the earth, we need to bomb them, they would be okay with that too. So it doesn't matter what the platform written down is. If he changes his mind tomorrow, that's where they're going.
I'm just looking at the comments. I'm just waiting for the MAGAs to push back on that. But I guess they.
I'm just saying, whatever he says, that's kind of where the platform is going. I mean, if he orates it right and they like what he's saying, doesn't matter. They're going with him.
So would it be all right if I just call them sheep and just say bah?
I'm not going that far. So let me, before I move it on, last question. Do you have any concerns Wednesday, the day after the election? Do you think America will still be similar to it is now, or do you potentially see chaos?
I mean, I've said it numerous times. Like, yes, there will be pockets, and I know it sounds kind of nonchalant to say it, but there will be some bloodshed, but not on the scale that people have been predicting and anticipating. Because remember, not too long ago we were hearing this Civil War thing. And every
we're still hearing it. We're still hearing it.
But every time, one of these, these monumental situations happens, nothing really happens. Like every time, there was a time when they was like, oh, if they kick him out of office, we're not going to stand it. They did January 6th. Oh, he's going to be put back in office. That's back when they were really down with Q. Any day now, he's still the president. He's going to come back. Every time, if they try to prosecute him, we're not going to stand for it. If he becomes found guilty, we're not going to take it.
So at the end of the day, though, you think we'll be okay?
Oh yeah, yes. This country has overcome a lot more than this.
Even if Trump loses and says it was stolen.
Right, that's what I'm talking about. If he loses, because just as he's trying to put together, these group of people who are out here today doing what he wants them to do, which is identify everything that looks suspicious and take everything to court. And he's got this battery of lawyers standing by to take everything to court to try to muddy up the waters if he loses. The other side is the actual government has been able to do the things to counteract that. So if we don't believe that our crooked FBI and CIA are not listening into these people on Telegram and all of this stuff and listening to see how people are trying to organize any type of revolt or whatever, those people will immediately get shut down because the government is just not going to stand for it. They've seen what happened on January 6th, and no law enforcement body in America is going to stand by and let that happen in their community unless they're a community that's already down with Trump anyway. And so it won't really matter.
Is there any environment, last question, is there any environment where Trump could potentially lose and not endorse, but, congratulate Kamala and just say, listen, we gave it our best?
Not a chance. It's not in his best interest to do it because he has to keep this facade up that he won the election because it hinges on so many court cases. So even if he loses, he still has to maintain that posture. He can't ever just say I lost because that means all those cases, which he would not, he would not be privileged as a president to skirt. Those cases are still going to go forward. Everybody's still just saying how all of the cases have been, thrown out and he's been found not guilty. No, all of those cases are still active. Even the one down there with Eileen Cannon, it's all still active.
All right. I don't know, Denkel. I'm not quite there, but I appreciate you coming through, man. Thank you.
All right, yeah, get there. It's only a couple more days.
It's close.
Get there with me.
It's close. All right, moving on. Looking in the comments, he is not a good American, but he is not a good American, not a good citizen. You're talking about Trump? Well, a lot of folks believe Trump loves America. Trump gave up a salary, gave up a luxurious lifestyle simply to get this country back on track. I've had a lot of people tell me that. So when you say he's not a good American, it's a hell of a lot of people, at least 74 million of them that might disagree with you. Looking in the comments, when Trump loses, he will cry for another 6 years. Shit, he might not even have another 6 years. He's 78 years old. I don't think he'll cry that long. He might be upset. I am black brother, letting you know China is coming for us. They want to try to be our new master, says T2. Huh? Country that has 2,000 plus nuclear weapons, an armed populace, 450 million guns floating around the country where there's only 350 million people in it. China ain't coming for us. Not like that. Trump wins, black folks, our ass is damn. This is I think this says Sonia says that if Trump wins, black folks, our ass is grass. You ever heard your parents tell you that? You come home after the street lights are on, or you go in there and you do something wrong, your ass is grass. Sonia said that if Trump wins, our asses are grass. I'm about black people. Supreme Court will give him total immunity. God help us. Now that's frightening. And that's what I was asking earlier. Do you have any concerns if the wrong candidate wins? Our ass is grass. Damn. Read 2025. I'm shaking my head at you, says user. I'm well aware of 2025 and Agenda 47. I'm totally aware of both of them. Going to the box, we'll keep it going with Harry Sisson. Good evening, Harry. I'm just going to continue with the good evening path. Can't tune myself to say good afternoon because I'm so used to saying good evening now. Harry, you had money in your bank. Willie Hankerson. Everybody's not voting based on the economy. I get your point that under Trump, a lot of folks had more money in the bank, as you're talking about. Everybody's not voting strictly on the economy, though. Understand no matter what the hell you're voting for, no matter what your primary issue is, that might not be the issue of the next man. Everybody ain't living broke under Biden. Plenty of people are buying homes and living all right. Everybody's not sitting on the porch finishing off their dog because they can't afford food. It's not that bad for a lot of Americans. For others, maybe so. Looking in the comments, tariffs will raise prices for consumers. Mark Cuban is out there preaching that, saying that those tariffs are harmful. I believe a few of the economic analysts, like the Neil Cavutos and things, I believe some of them have said that too. Because Trump is talking about anywhere from 100 to 1,000% tariffs. Many are suggesting that the companies are just going to pass that on to the consumer. You hear a lot of folks on the right, if you raise minimum wage, the price of a burger will be $20. I don't know why they don't see the same thing, perhaps maybe happening with the tariffs. Maybe there's some they know rather that we don't. I got money in the bank now, just bought a new house, says Moses Johnson. Shorty, what you think or what you drink? I got money in the bank. Let me go back to the box. My last guest did not come up, so we'll continue on with Stitch of the Truth. Good afternoon, Stitch.
Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. You've been listening in. I saw you in the box there. What am I getting wrong? What do you think? Do you see Kamala Harris as behaving or proposing legislation and policies that are akin to a communist?
No, and you want to know what's crazy? So whenever let's talk about the Ukraine war, say for a second. Whenever we ask people, whenever we ask them Magonians about Ukraine, and the very first thing that they say is, hey, well,
you said whenever we asked who?
The Magonians. That's what I call them.
They have their own city now? Magonians?
They're just a group of people, so I just.
All right, I get it. I get Magonians. I like it. Keep going.
So, whenever we ask them about Ukraine, first thing they say, hey, you know what? Instead of using that money toward Ukraine, we could, build every house for all the homeless, and we can get all the veterans off the street.
You hear it all the time.
I'm like, really? I said, well, that's income redistribution. That's socialism. So I don't understand why they call it Kamala a communist whenever they, some of the defense for some of the things that they say is a product of socialism. It's just Margoni is not making sense like usual.
Well, that is a good point, though. If we stop sending money to Ukraine and use it to help out the homeless and the downtrodden in this country, that is what the liberals have been proposing and being called socialists. So, which kind of falls in line with what I've often said is that even if we stop helping the Ukraine, there is no stomach in this country to help our poor people. We've never done it. So it's not gonna. It makes good talking point to stop sending money to the Ukrainians, but you notice there's no politicians, at least on the right, that are bragging about how much they used to be able to do for the poor and the homeless before the money went to the Ukraine. Nobody's bragging about what they were doing before. I mean, that war just started in February of 2022. So what were you doing for those people before that? No one's saying anything.
The whole thing, the touchback on the whole Lynn Cheney thing, and them calling her a war hawk, and to be honest with you, I'm going to call a spade a spade. I do think that the comments that Trump said was taken out of context. Mm-hmm. However,
what was he talking about then?
So what he was basically saying is that, not that I agree, but what he's basically saying is that, hey, look, you would probably rethink your defense policy if you had to suit up and go with rifles pointed at you.
But why target? Wait. Why target Liz Cheney with that? Every politician in D.C. would rethink it if they had to do that.
That was my next point that I was about to get to. I don't understand why he's singing out Lynn Cheney, because one of his biggest advocates is a huge war hawk, and that's Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham is always talking about blowing up the place and everything else, but he doesn't say anything to him. But you want to target Lynn Cheney. It's only because Lynn Cheney doesn't like his ass. Yeah. So of course he's going to target her. So, to me, again, more MAGA foolishness.
Yeah. And I said the same thing, is that if Liz Cheney is a war hawk, all of that was done. I mean, Liz Cheney's been she's been gone since the midterms. Why didn't you bring it up then? Why bring up something that's now 5, 10, 20 years old? Liz Cheney's no longer a politician. If you want to bring up that she's doing all this stuff, it should have came up a long time ago. Why bring it up now?
Handsome, here's the thing, man. You're asking the wrong questions because you're thinking logically. MAGA doesn't believe in logic. What they believe in is whatever Trump decides what's going to be the talking point for the day. And, we're going to go along with it. You know what? Lynn Cheney's a war hawk. Never mind Lindsey Graham. Never mind the fact that whenever he was president, he nominated Michael Bolton, you might well say arguably another war hawk for UN secretary. I mean, everyone knew who Michael Bolton was.
Ambassador, you're talking about Ambassador Bolton. Yeah, he definitely, because Iran was calling him the mustache man. They wanted to take his life. He was such a war hawk. Yeah, and
right.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's all about whoever sides with Trump, gets a pass, and whoever's with Trump, okay, I'm sorry, whoever is with Trump gets a pass, but whoever's against him, I'm gonna aim my missiles towards him. I mean, that's what he does.
But let me ask you this, and thank you for that graphic there, Star Trek fan. Frank Ocean fan in the comments. Frank Ocean, I like the name, says, Frank Ocean, how can you vote for a party that can't even define a woman? How do you respond?
Well, first of all, this is a stupid question. Because
I think it has some legitimacy, but keep going.
Okay, well, this is what I'm about to explain. Okay, let me ask you this. Does the party, a political party, define for you what should you define? I mean, because to me, I guess what I'm saying is because, certain people may say they can't define a woman. I can define a woman. Why do we use political parties as if it is our own individual ideology? I don't, that's just ridiculous to me. To me, I can define a woman. I can't disagree with the party that I'm voting for. I mean, when have we gotten to the point that we say, hey, well, if that was the case, let's use this. So if that was the case, then I might as well say, well, MAGA cannot really define racism. Or, MAGA cannot really define what it really means to be a Christian. These are the stupid questions that we all get trapped in and thinking that, hey, well, your party says this. Well, automatically you must believe this. That's ridiculous to me. How did we get to this point? It's ridiculous.
Well, the can define a woman thing is hatred of the transgender community. So that's how we got there with that one. But I do agree. You don't have to agree with everything your party says or does. I get a lot of devoted Trump supporters that'll tell you, I don't agree with everything he says. So you could be a Democrat and not agree with that particular stance.
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, to me, if I had to categorize myself, if anything, I'm more along the ways of a JFK Democrat. I do believe in fiscal responsibility. I do believe that we should have a strong defense. However, I am socially, I lean left. And so, I think that there are plenty of us like that out there, believe it or not. And here's the thing I want to say, and I'm glad you bring this up. Because there are a lot of, especially in the African American community, we're constantly told, you always hear that thing about how Republicans, how black people used to be with the Republican Party and yada, yada, yada. And, we always hear the saying, well, what has the Democratic Party done for black people, yada, 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 and all that stuff, right?
Okay.
There are a lot of black people, in middle-class America who never once asked or never once expected any sort of handout from the Democratic Party. We just prefer their policies. You know, there's a large section of us that are doing well. There is a large section of us that believe in family, that also can believe in women's rights. There's a large section of us who are Christian in nature, but we also recognize the ability that, hey, well, look, going off of our, you know, the way our country was built, that we can recognize other religions too as well. There's a large section of us black folk that are not necessarily in the hood and wonder why we can't make it and all this other kind of crap. I mean, it's stupid. But you know what? You'll see on Tuesday. You will see a large section of us voting on Tuesday.
Do you feel confident Kamala's going to pull it out?
You know what? I monitor polls just about every day. And I'm going to say I think she is. My gut is telling me she is. And it's going to come down to Pennsylvania. I think Pennsylvania, I think that and don't be surprised, and what to look out for that night, if Florida, and I'm not expecting Florida to go blue.
Oh, okay. You're scaring me there for a minute.
No. I'm not expecting Florida to go blue. But if it's a scenario that it is too close to call instead of too early to call, then that's going to spell trouble for Trump. You know, so I would just say that if Florida's not called early, Trumpers need to worry.
So you said he need to win Florida confidently?
Yeah, I think that if Trump is going to have a good night, he should blow her away in Florida. You know, if Trump is going to have a good night, he should blow her away in Texas. The last poll, it was a poll in Alaska. Believe it or not, red Alaska, that showed Harris within 5 points. Now, I'm no, Alaska's not going to go blue.
No.
I'm just saying that for Alaska to be within single digits, that is something to worry about if I'm a Trumper. Even Kansas, red Kansas, was in single digits.
Well, Kansas is one of those states that voted against those abortion bans. Them abortion bans, regardless, Trump may win, but those bans are going to cost some of the down ballot Republicans their jobs, because people are showing up and just voting blue because they pissed off at that. So even if Trump wins, there are going to be some Republican politicians that are going to say those bans cost me my job.
Yeah, I think that, you know, there's a certain degree of that. I think that, you know, there's some, you know, believe it or not, and I live here in Texas, and just hearing what some of the people are saying, some people that I thought that for a million years probably would never vote for Kamala, but hearing them say, man, I don't know what's going on with Trump. Like, you know, last night, you know, him doing this whole fellatio thing with the microphone.
Yeah, I saw that. Oh my God. Him sucking dick. I saw that. Wow.
I didn't say that, but you said it.
Was he imitating Kamala?
So what now?
Was he trying to imitate Kamala Harris?
You know what? I just saw the clip. I didn't see the whole thing, but the issue I have, especially for the evangelical.
Hold on. Now I want to point, because I always say when I see funny comments, Jay Evans in the comments, you talk about he said his, he or she said it's muscle memory.
You know, so I will say this. And you know, and this is why I got to challenge the evangelicals. You know, and I'm a Christian man. You know, I'm not going to lump myself with the evangelicals, because I think they're a bunch of hypocrites at this point. But to me, you know, you're saying that this guy is, you know, Christian and bringing the Christian principles back, but yet still we got the leader of the free world, a candidate to be a leader of the free world, performing fellatio at a rally where kids and stuff are at.
Yeah.
How freaking embarrassing is that? You know, so I would say this: if Trump wins, what does that say about us? What does that say about our country at the end of the day? I mean, we need to start. I mean, Handsome, look, I know you're Maga friendly, and I get it. I understand. You know, I'm not trying to interrupt, you know, your fan base. I like you. But at the same time, man, look, we got to be willing to hold people accountable for this kind of crap. We got to hold voters accountable that say that, hey, look, we want Christian values, but yet still we're willing to overlook some of this stuff. It's ridiculous. We have to start holding voters accountable, because to me, I will say this: if Trump wins and we end up in crap, then to me, it's the voters' fault. It's not Trump's fault. It is the voters' fault because they would have allowed it.
Well,
we gotta start saying that.
They're saying the same thing about if we vote for Kamala Harris too. If we end up in crap, it's the voters' fault. If you vote Kamala Harris in there and knowing what the border and things like that.
Of course, yes, and they would be right. If it is a bad situation, yes, exactly right. We should hold ourselves accountable. But you know what? You know what's going to happen? We see, the reason why I'm saying that, because we see time and time and time again, MAGA gives Trump passes on everything.
Well, speaking of giving him a pass, Jen8675309, that's that song, is in the comments saying that's not what he did, the whole fellatio thing. She said he didn't do that. Now, you can see him doing it clear as day. I don't know why.
The dude was bobbing his head. I mean, what else is that supposed to mean? What? Please tell me, what is that supposed to mean? If there's some other universal sign language that I don't know about, bobbing the head and using your hand to do the twist motion. Yeah. I mean, what is that supposed to mean?
That's what I say. Liking a politician shouldn't mean coming up with excuses for everything. He clearly was imitating sucking dick. I saw it. In fact, I didn't even listen to the audio because I was driving. Like, what the fuck is this? Somebody had sent it to me. I'm like, you don't need to really hear sucking in moaning sounds. So you can see what somebody is doing and tell this is what it's obvious. He is imitating sucking dick. I'll keep the last word. I got to move it on, but yeah, there's no saying that he was doing something else. He was doing that.
I just want to know that to whoever he was doing that to, a ghost or whatever, did the ghost finish? And then, was it in his mouth or somewhere else? And that's what I want to know. I think we all need to ask that question. Is that to the ghost that he was trying to do that, did the ghost finish? And where did he catch it at? That's what I would say. We need to ask that question.
All right, Stitch, you're getting wild. Appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you.
See you, man.
All right, moving on with the program. Yeah, I saw the video of it, and I was like, and you can tell by the audience response, they knew they know what he's doing too, because you can see the blushed look on their faces. I mean, he was imitating fellatio. I mean, it's you had to be deep, hardcore MAGA to try to spin that and say he wasn't talking about that. Like I said, you can watch it with no audio and tell what he's talking about doing. Looking in the comments, how many Diddy followers you gonna bring up on stage for Kamala? I would say there's probably half of the rally that supports Kamala Harris were Diddy followers at one point. I mean, the guy had a huge catalog of hit music. I suppose caller needs watch that rally. I don't care what you're saying there, John Call. If you think Trump is on the same page as Jesus, you need a mental health checkup. I've been to a couple Trump rallies, and I did at one rally have a guy tell me that Trump was indeed appointed by God himself to direct this nation down the right path. So people do believe that. I had somebody tell me that to my face. Stop playing with me says, yeah, I saw that and couldn't watch. Yeah, he's imitating sucking dick. There's no denying that Trump was imitating sucking dick at that rally. Say whatever you want to say about it, but it's pretty obvious. Diddy says he has a space next door. The Diddy jokes, I get it, just like with the Epstein shit. I mean, they're going to go on forever, but take them as you may. Let me continue with the program. One of my subscribers there, Gerald MC. Timoteo, wow. Gerald MC, good evening.
What's going on, Jim? Mr. Handsome? How you doing, brother?
2 days before the election, I'm asking, is there a genuine reason to be concerned?
I think after. I think not 2 days from now, but I think 4 days from now.
Yeah. You think Trump got it in the bag?
No, I don't. I think there's a group of voters that posters aren't even, talking to. How do they get a poll? Who do you call? Most people that you call have got to be at home or whatever. They're not just sitting around waiting for you to call. And
well, you do know we got mobile phones now. You don't have to be at home to get a call now.
I know, but you got to be at home if you're on a machine. If you're a regular worker and you on a machine, you can't answer that phone. Or if you do, you probably, you know what I'm saying? There's a whole.
I get, I went out because I get so many polls because I follow, both sides. I get a lot of polls from Trump, cash solicitation, same thing from Kamala Harris. But I went out and bought an iPhone because I want to have a third platform. I'm going to try to go on Rumble or something like that. And for you folks, Handsome Liberal on Rumble, go ahead and subscribe to that, or follow that. But I don't use this phone for anything, and I've already received, I don't know, probably 30 text messages from political campaigns. Never made a call on it. Never gave a number out. Can't even remember what it is. I bought it strictly for. So when you say people getting polled, I'm like, you don't even know who the hell I am. Trump and Kamala. I'm getting tons of messages on this phone, text messages, asking for money, telling me who to vote for and all of that.
Well, the thing is, if you answer that phone, if you answer it or you respond to it, then they know you're real. It's going to increase the number of those kind of things you get.
And I haven't answered or responded to any of them. Yeah, and I haven't answered or responded to any of them. And I've gotten double-digit messages in the last 48 hours of that.
Oh, wow. Well, they got you, brother.
I don't know how, though. I didn't do anything from this phone. I didn't go on any websites or anything. I simply bought it until I can figure out how to put it on the next platform. And I looked at it, I'm like, damn, who's messaging me? And I'm like, holy shit. Just political text messages like crazy.
Right. Somewhere, somebody or something, you've picked up on something somewhere where they picked up your number. Think about it. This is how, you remember, what's the name of the company? Publishers Clearinghouse.
Yes.
The way they make their money is you get those letters and you have to take some sticker off and put it on here and take this off and stick it on there and send it in. That validates that you're a real person and they sell that list. That's how they do it. So it's valid. So they'll pay for lists but they won't valid people. And the way you know it's valid is because you took the sticker off, you put it on there.
Wow. So that was the old version of click on this to say I am not a robot.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And it only takes one. And then they're going to sell that to this person or that person. They're going to continue to sell those lists to all these people.
I always wondered why Ed McMahon never came to my crib. Okay, now I know why.
What people don't realize is that the other part of that whole thing is that they don't always pick a winner every year. Everybody thinks that they make it sound like somebody every year is winning. And that's not true. That's not true. Nobody wins every year. They make money.
They could be sued for that, couldn't they?
No, but they don't ever say it. Listen to the commercial very carefully. They don't ever say you're going to win every year. They said a winner will be picked. That's it. You gotta
well, I tell you, fucking lawyers, man, I tell you, they can...
I tell you, I wanted to tell you about this. I was on a flight from Atlanta to Savannah, Georgia. And this gentleman sitting next to me owns the largest polling company in the country.
Okay.
And this guy was telling me he's done polls. I mean, it was so interesting to talk to him. He's done polls since Reagan. He's an old guy. He's a real old guy. He's retiring now, whatever. Or he's retired now. He doesn't do anything. But he's done polls from Reagan all the way up till the recent ones. His company has now. I mean, he's like, I don't get really involved. And he wrote a book, and I bought the book immediately, and started reading through it. And he said he's talking about how we've gotten to the point where we are no longer cordial or respecting of others' opinions. He's like, it's a totally different world right now. We're so split. He said that sometimes you can't really tell. And he even questioned the polls himself, saying that you can't really tell if somebody is responding because somebody's standing next to him. Like say for instance, if I'm a husband and I'm a type A personality, and my wife wants to vote for Kamala, but I want to vote for Trump, and then they call on the phone and I'm standing there, guess what I'm going to say? That ain't what I'm going to do. I might sit there and say,
I see. So do you believe there's a host of women out there that just follow their husband's wishes come election time?
Yeah, there are hosts out there I think that would do that, but I think there are a lot of them that are saying, okay, screw you, buddy. I'm going
Have you seen the commercials now where they got women voting while looking up at their husband, and it says nobody's going to know how you vote, telling women you don't have to follow what your husband is telling you to do. And it's I think it's the Lincoln Project or a right-wing outfit that is, it says your vote will remain a secret, and he won't know what you did.
Exactly. I've seen it. I've seen that commercial.
Yeah,
and that's exactly right. But they're trying to appeal to those think for yourself, which is what this is supposed to be. I mean, if we were really, truly interested in having an election, we'd take away one of these stupid people holidays and make election day a holiday.
Stupid people holidays. Give me the example of a stupid people. Give me a
Columbus.
Columbus. I think
he didn't discover America.
Yeah.
So why are we celebrating this cat?
I've had people tell me on Juneteenth that's the stupid holiday they need to get rid of.
Well, that's an actual thing that happened in America. What Columbus did didn't have crap to do with America. He never made it here. He was in the Indies.
They just made up some shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, Columbus discovered America. No, he didn't. Amerigo Vespucci discovered America.
Okay, before I move on, last question. Liz Cheney, is that being taken out of context what Trump said?
I'm going back to what I told you before. If they tell you if they tell you who they are, believe them.
And what are they telling you here?
Yeah, he's telling me that if he could, he would.
He would take her life.
Yeah, if he could, he would. But I don't think he will, because I don't think anybody will go along with him. But if he had ultimate power and he was the dictator that he wants to be, yeah, he'd do it. He's telling you that's who he is. So his tendencies may not be to kill somebody, but his tendencies would be to harm them. He might, it's like, okay, if I'm thinking that way, like say for you've heard people get, but they don't really mean it. They mean that I don't really like this guy and I'm going to do everything I can, but I ain't killing him, but I'll do everything I can to step on him. Wow. But I'm not killing him.
You think he got that much hatred in his heart towards Liz?
I think he has animosity and a psychological issue with anybody who disagrees with him. He can't handle disagreement.
Well, he doesn't do very well with African Americans. And I see on YouTube, Quickso69 says, I think blacks could be on his hate list.
Oh, yeah. I could see some, not all. The ones who kowtow to him and bow down to him, oh no. If you bow down to Trump, you're his best friend. So, if you disagree with Trump, you're his worst enemy. There's no in between.
He does take things personal. But so should I consider how many of these lives I do just in case Trump is listening? Should I take the Tim Scott role? I love you, man. I love you. Got to save my own ass.
Look, not until he knocks at your door. Then you do it.
Well, shit, by the time he knock at your door, it might be with a squad. And I'm not talking about Tashila Tweed.
I'm a Trumper, baby. I'm a Trumper.
Yeah, it might be with a squad, and we're not talking about the one up in Minnesota. I got to move it on, though, man. Yeah, appreciate it. All right, Gerald. That's scary. That's frightening. All right, moving on with the program, though. Ask Jesse Jackson about Trump. It's too deep. Love to name it. There's nothing you're going to be to ask Jesse Jackson about Trump because Trump is a different guy than he was. I mean, Jesse Jackson and Trump used to be cordial, used to be friendly to each other. What you're talking about in the late 70s, 80s, I mean, early 90s, maybe that's not the guy he is now. I mean, you ask Trump about Jesse Jackson, and Trump would probably have all kinds of awful things to say about that guy. So they're different people now. Miss Mo Better, yeah, appreciate that mustache. Asking that question, if Trump or Kamala, depends on whoever wins this election in 2+ days, do you have any significant concerns? And I'm talking about in terms of peace, chaos. There are businesses in D.C. right now as we speak, similar to how they do in Florida when an oncoming hurricane is coming, they board up. There are businesses in D.C. that have began to proactively board up windows. So clearly some business owners are expecting a possibility of at least some form of chaos. I asked the caller earlier on here, what are the chances that if for some reason, now she may not win, but if for some reason Kamala Harris wins, what are the chances that Trump might concede and offer to shake Kamala Harris's hand? Or perhaps what are the chances that if he was to lose, he would still say he won and the election was stolen from him? Because that's what could lead to this type of unrest. Looking in the comments, if representation was truly equal, fair, and unbiased, then conservatives would easily get the win over these last 4 years of objective ruin. I agree with half of that, Scott, on YouTube. I do believe that I think if you went solely on record, I think Trump would probably be further out ahead. Not to say that Trump's been that much better of a president than Biden, but the perception is that he was. The perception is that the economy was better under Trump. The perception by most American voters is the country was safer in terms of global conflicts. The border was more secure. So the perception by most voters should have Trump further ahead than he is. So why is he not? We'll talk about that. But when I say perception, I'm not saying that Trump actually did secure the border more or Kamala did or not. I'm saying the perception. And I'm not talking about just MAGA or Trump supporters. Even a hell of a lot of Democrats believe the economy was better under Trump than under Biden. Even a lot of Democrats believe the border was more secure under Trump than it is under Biden. So what I'm saying is, based on the perception of the voters, Trump should be further out in the polls and ahead by more than he actually is. So why is he not? My humble opinion, he runs his mouth. He runs his mouth. And I do believe a lot of that stuff, self-inflicted wounds, Haitian migrants, for instance. Any legal Haitians are probably going to take that into consideration. America's the garbage can for immigration. America's the world's garbage can. Well, that's going to probably lead to some folks who may have migrated here that now have the legal right to vote. I wasn't my family wasn't part of the garbage can. I mean, this is he runs his mouth. Just want to say that. I mean, but on paper, he should be further ahead, but he likes to target people. And a lot of folks that support him don't believe his speech should have consequences. That's not realistic. I'm 100% pro-speech. I tell you on my program all the time, I don't block, ban, or censor any damn body. You can be critical of anybody in the comments, including me, and I give you plenty of time to state your case. I'll challenge you on it, but I do believe in free speech. But in the real world, free speech comes with consequences. You can't go around attacking every damn body and expecting to have a smooth presidency. Remember, they never gave him a chance from day one. They were constantly trying to impeach him and all that. Well, he came on the scene basically promising to be an office snitch. Hire me, America, and I'll snitch on every damn body. And then you get in there, you wonder, why aren't they working with me? Why aren't they helping me achieve our legislation? You promised to be an office snitch. That's kind of what happens. He don't see that. Trump supporters in MAGA don't see that. It is what it is. I'm looking in the comments. Again, I don't like Trump by a long shot, but we need conservatives so bad. Scott, is Trump really a conservative, though? More people have Trump derangement syndrome. You said system, John Carl. More people have Trump derangement syndrome. That's why he has not got through to those voters. I've been doing this for a few years. I'll go to the box after this, but in my opinion, Trump derangement syndrome is simply something that MAGA says to defend him. And what I mean by that is the only way you're going to get diagnosed with Trump derangement syndrome is if you do not like Trump. I could go get a tattoo of Trump on my damn forehead, paint his face all over my car and every damn thing, and you would never hear MAGA suggest I got Trump derangement syndrome. Big ass Trump flags sticking out the back of a pickup. They would never say that's Trump derangement. The only way you can have Trump derangement syndrome is to not like him. And taking in consideration that Trump still regularly trounces Hillary Clinton, Notice you don't ever hear MAGA suggesting that Trump has Hillary derangement syndrome. So, in my opinion, Trump derangement syndrome is just a term created by MAGA to defend Trump because they don't want you talking about him. There's a lot of other terms that people talk about over and over again. Trump's still talking about the 2020 election. Does he have 2020 election derangement syndrome? No, you're not going to hear that from MAGA because they're only using that term to defend him. That's my opinion on that. Going to the box, Trump's derangement syndrome only accounts for less than 7% of total conservative collective. I don't know where you're going with that, but the one and only DJ Julio, maybe you can correct me on a few things. Julio always comes hard. Good afternoon, Julio. What am I getting wrong, Julio?
Why did I get an evening?
Huh?
Why did I get a good evening?
Because it's afternoon and I realized it.
Shit, I thought you were going with it.
All right. Fair enough. Okay, good evening then. So what do you think?
There we go.
Any reason to be concerned about this election?
From the Republicans doing anything, no.
What about the Democrats?
And it shows a case that if Washington is already boarding up the windows, we know Democrats and liberals are the ones that like to break windows, burn down buildings, burn down cities. That's not a Republican thing to do. So they're not boarding it up because of us.
So you believe it's possible that if Trump wins, the Democrats may act a fool?
I believe when he wins that yeah, there's going to be some foolery.
But if Kamala was to win, you believe the Democrats would behave? I mean, the Republicans would behave?
Yeah, we're going to shut our mouths and we're going to do our homework. And this time we're going to come with evidence and we're going to shut the whole shit down.
Why didn't they come with evidence last time?
You and Lumberjack talked about that. You know the answer to that.
No, I don't. That's why I'm asking you.
Because he wasn't able to actually get the things done because it wasn't done the right way. They did it the wrong way. Remember you were telling Lumberjack, you were like, well, he's got the best damn lawyers in the country. Why didn't they do better? They screwed up. That was the problem. That was the fault. Won't happen again.
I don't know just about the lawyers, though, DJ. I mean, when you look at all of the accusations Trump made about fraud in the 2020 election, such as Dominion voting machines and things like that, he couldn't prove.
They're screwing up.
Huh?
They're already screwing up. And is it Michigan or Wisconsin? They're already having problems with Dominion voting machines?
Well, it's a difference between saying they're screwing up and saying Democrats. Hold on, hang on. He didn't say they screwed up. He said Democrats cheated and Democrats stole the election. It's a difference between saying in this town they're not doing something right and it looks like there's a possibility of fraud. No, he's pinning it on the Democrats. You got to have evidence for that.
He's calling someone to blame without knowing who's to blame for sure. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I mean, but you're going to point the finger in the direction you think it's coming from. And it would make sense to point that finger at them because they've been throwing stones at him. So if eventually a window gets broken, it was probably them.
That doesn't make any sense at all. And
yes, it sure as hell does. Tim, if I sit here and I'm standing outside, I'm that red car behind you, and I start throwing stones at your truck, you can say without a doubt, if you leave your vehicle and you come back and there's a rock on your seat and the window is broken, it was probably me that did it.
Yeah, but the problem is, while people were saying negative things about Trump supporters were also saying a hell of a lot of negative things about the liberals. So why, if there's election fraud, we're going to only assume the liberals did it? I mean, there's plenty of Republicans we know now for a fact that actually pled guilty to election fraud.
Did they plea or did they plea their deal?
They pled guilty to it. Sidney Powell pled guilty to it.
Was that a plea or did that go through trial? Did they plea out of court?
If you plea, you don't need a trial.
Exactly. So what you're doing when you make a plea is they're saying, we've got 7 charges against you. I know a lot about this. If they have 7 charges against you, you're going to plead to the lesser of the charges, but they're still going to get you guilty on something. So yes, people did say, this I lied. Maybe they lied about something in that statement, but not the whole thing. That's my interpretation of it, because if they didn't plea, they had him on something.
Yeah. And by the way, Scott R, thank you for the super chat on the support on YouTube. Scott R Tunes is, thank you. But what I'm saying is this: They pled guilty to posing as fake electors, knowing they had no credentials to be that. That's what they pled guilty to.
Okay.
That's election fraud. They were going to steal the entire electoral count of the states they did that in. Michigan, Georgia, Arizona, Wisconsin, they pled guilty in Wisconsin. They literally were going to take the entire state and hand it to Trump.
Well, I mean, if it was deserving, they should have.
Deserving? What do you mean by that?
If the votes were there, then that should have been what happened.
If the votes were there, the actual electors would have done that.
Well, maybe those electors were the ones that were the bad ones, and because they stepped in and did what they did, now they got caught. Man, listen, I don't know. Well, I'm not talking about 2020. I'm talking about 24. And what I am saying when it comes to all of that is yeah, I'm going to point this direction because I believe it was the Democrats that organized this. That's all I was saying.
It would be a difference if you went around and said, I believe it was the Democrats. He said it was. He's saying even Biden stole the election from him. Biden, the guy with dementia, he's blaming Biden for stealing the election from him.
Now we're talking semantics. I believe, and it was fairly similar.
What?
They're very similar. If I believe you're a good man, I can also say you're a good man. If I believe you're a shit, I can also say you're a shit. Sue me, Miss Mo Better.
Yeah.
Don't talk too much shit. I want to have Gen X to have you make him a sandwich.
Well, he didn't get sued, but he caused a whole lot of people under him to get sued. They were echoing his sentiment. I mean, fact is, Trump claimed the election was stolen, and MAGA just dived into the shallow end of the pool head first and just said, well, if he's saying the election stolen, we're going to echo what he's saying. And unlike Trump, they don't have the shield and all their lawyers and the shield of the presidency behind them. And a lot of folks lost the farm. I mean, they bit the farm buying into this stuff. I remember watching Fox News on January 6th, the evening of January 6th when all that was happening. And Judge Janine Pirro's on it saying, that's Antifa. Like, you're in New York. You don't know who the hell this group is. Why are you on TV just randomly defending Trump and naming off Antifa? You have no, and to this day,
wasn't it proven that there was a good majority of people that were in Antifa?
No, it didn't come up at the It didn't come up at the January 6th hearings. I have not heard any Republican senator or member of Republican Congress that were there that day claim it was Antifa. Mike Pence didn't. The FBI didn't say it. No, it hasn't been proven that it was Antifa.
Okay.
And yet she was on television that night saying it was Antifa.
Man, I don't know. I guess when I see that the way the people are dressing, they dress real similar to the Antifa people.
And is there any
changing shirts, taking their Trump shirts off, having whatever they have underneath them, just black shirts? I mean, come on.
So Antifa has
you can pussyfoot and make as many excuses for what happened in 2020 as you want to. 2020 sucked. 2020 was the year, and it will be the year.
But wait a minute.
Fuck all those things. It'll be the year that our country fell apart.
If you know you're about to pull some kind of political caper, would it not make sense to have some folks put on black so that maybe we can get this blamed on Antifa?
Or vice versa. I think vice versa is more logical because you don't hear a bunch of Republicans ever tearing down cities, ever doing anything that Antifa, BLM, or a lot of the liberal riots have done in all of the liberal cities.
Yeah, but here's the issue, though. You know how unsafe it would be for Antifa to go to the Capitol building on January 6th and try to badmouth Trump or MAGA's name that day? I mean, you're talking about a crowd where you're outnumbered probably 200 to 1, 1,000 to 1 or something like that. You think Antifa would have been bold enough, just a few of them, to go into that crowd and try to do bad shit to make MAGA look bad? You think they're that brave?
I think there was a lot of Antifa there, and they were there to disrupt the Republican send-off, us saying goodbye to our president. I think they were there to disrupt that and make us look like shit, 100%. You're right.
Well, here's something else. Here's something else I don't understand, because we're often calling liberals communists, Marxists, and fascists. Do people realize Antifa? Do people realize Antifa stands for anti-fascist? Because they're calling Antifa liberals, but they're calling liberals fascists. Antifa stands for anti-fascist. That's where the word comes from. So maybe Antifa is closer to the right because the right says they're anti-fascist.
Well, yeah, we are.
Okay, so
Antifa, the majority of us are, but Antifa, much like BLM, has nothing to do with the actual people. BLM is a corporation. Black Lives Matter is a real thing in my heart. I believe that all lives matter, 100%. Don't care what melanin tone you are. You know that.
Okay, do you believe that Black lives in America get treated just as equally as everybody else?
Absolutely.
Okay, because you said all lives matter. I just wanted to bring that up.
Let me say this. In my experience, okay,
big difference.
In my experience, in the cities I've traveled, in the places I've DJ'd, in the places that I've been throughout the United States, every person of color, Mexican, Indian, Black, Asian, doesn't matter. Every person of color I have seen do really, really well. In the same sentence, I'm going to say this. I have seen all of the melanin shades suck. Okay? I've seen where there's homeless whites, there's homeless Indians, there's homeless blacks, there's Mexicans that are homeless, there's black, there's everybody that's homeless, there's everybody that's sucking. There's everybody has that in their gender, in their gender, we'll say that too, and in their race.
You're basing
but I've
everything.
Also seen the flip side of that.
I've
seen the flip side of that, and what it comes down to is what that person is willing to do for themselves.
Somebody took your name and turned it into DJ Fulio. I see that on YouTube. Not
that
Julio.
Happens all the time. I'm actually going to make shirts that say that.
DJ Fulio. Well, let me say this. When you started talking about the races are treated equally, every angle you came from was an economic one. Blacks do just as well, and there's blacks that whites that suck or whatever. When they're talking about lives that matter, I don't know if finances is the only. This is the example I often give on the show. You could have a black person that is homeless that doesn't have a pot to piss out of or a window that throw it out of. A white person the same way. They're both homeless. Neither one of them don't have a damn thing. They both fall asleep on the same street, maybe in the gangway of a business. They're homeless. But for some reason, when the white guy wakes up, the black guy is gone. He's been arrested for loitering or something like that. Or they're both scouring for food in garbage cans. And for some reason, the black dude keeps getting accosted by the police. You don't have to have any money at all to be a person that's privileged. Maybe you guys are both begging for money in front of Walmart, and they keep telling the black guy, you need to move on. You don't see any possibility of this kind of stuff happening?
So I could see where you would see that in Chicago. In South Dakota, you see it with the Native Americans. I understand what you're talking about. Okay. What happens with the Native Americans is when they approach these people, the white man and the black man, or the white man and the Native American, they're asked to leave. Well, in our case in South Dakota, again, I'm Native American, and it breaks my heart that anybody's homeless, but I get angry when I see how my people try to accost the cop for doing his job. Move on. This isn't your home. I'm sorry you don't have a home, but you can't stay here. We have several shelters you can go check out. The white man might say, yep, let me get my shit. I'll get it together. Well, the other guy, black, I can't speak for the black heritage because I don't see there's not a lot of homeless black people in my area. I've not encountered that. But the melanin shade is native where I'm at, Native American. He's going to get a little irate because what happens is he gets arrested, then he goes to jail, and he can't post bond. So now he gets free room, board, shelter. It's not the best place to live in the world.
It ain't close to the best. It's barely even sufficient. Why do people think jail is some kind of free room and board? You know what they feed people in jail?
You've never been there.
No.
So have you ever toured it?
Yes.
Okay, so it looks like shit, right?
Yes.
It looks like shit.
It is shit.
As humans, we adapt. When you are sleeping on the streets, you would much rather sleep on a freaking a cement pad with a freaking inch-thick pad and a blanket.
No.
You would rather sleep on the streets. Well, around here, because it's cold as shit, the Native Americans choose in November, we can look. You can pull the jail records. In November, December, January, and February, that is our most full in our incarcerated.
Well, but Julio, you're around Native Americans that have been pushed in these small areas and they want to stay there. As an African American like myself, if I was in North Dakota somewhere and I was homeless, I would rather, as opposed to spending the night in jail or whatever to try to get off the street, I'd rather try to beg up the $50 or whatever it takes for Greyhound to just bus me to some warm climate. I don't care if I don't have clothes. Just get me out of this cold environment. I'd rather panhandle for a day or two, try to come up with enough money to get a Greyhound bus, or I don't give a damn how I get the money. I just want to get out of this cold climate and be homeless somewhere else.
Damn, seeing what I would do is I would clean myself up and do more. I'd figure out a way.
Well, that too, get a day.
That's my first thought. My first thought isn't and I know it's not yours either, so we're not going to go that far into that. But and I get what you're saying. Yeah, beg up, get the hell out of here. But,
yeah, I would go I would either try to do a single day of day labor where they pay you, or go to a church and let them know, listen, I'm just trying to get out of here and go to St. Louis or Memphis where it's warmer. And I would rather do that and then go to jail to get off the streets, as you pointed out. There's always hope if you're on the streets. There is no hope in jail.
Yeah, no, and I understand what you're saying, and without seeing it, you wouldn't understand it. And without me seeing your situation in the black community, because you're in Chicago, it's diverse, but it's a lot of melanin. Do you need to be around it though, Julio? Let me just ask you this: you seen what happened at George Floyd, and you seen Minneapolis burn with rioting looters because they took 4 days. That was on TV for 4 days before they arrested Derek Chauvin. You see the guy with the knee on his neck for 9 minutes. That's on television for 4 days. Do you think a white dude, you think they would have let that go like that without no arrest for 4 days if it was a black cop on the neck of a white dude? I mean, sure. So you think that would have happened? Listen, what it shows me, and it tells me already, is how instant gratification that people are. That you think you got to earn shit in this life, people.
What are you talking about?
You don't get a conviction. You don't get a conviction in 24 hours.
We're not talking. Wait, hold on. We're not. Wait, no. We're not. Why are you using the word conviction? We're talking about an arrest. He wasn't even arrested for 4 days. We're not talking about a conviction. Okay, you don't just arrest people without putting together a case first. He's on Wait, so you're telling me that if you, Julio, put your neck on the knee of put your knee on the neck of a cop, they would wait 4 days before they arrested you, and it's on TV. You, Julio, or have your neck on the knee of a cop that dies. They would take 4 days to put together a case before they arrested you. That what you're trying to convince me of? That's not a fair. Why is it not? Why is it not? One, you're talking about people that we put in charge of our community and our safety. Now, if you said at one of your events, Ryan, when you're DJing, if somebody got out of line and you held him down and you put your knee on his neck, are they going to arrest you right away? 4 days. That makes more sense because I have a little pole in my venue where, whereas the cops have the pole. 4 days. It would probably take 4 days for me to get an indictment. Yes, they would investigate it first, 100%. What? You got it on video. What are you trying to investigate? You got to watch the cop case. Every witness. You got it on video. Every witness on the scene is telling you the cop was wrong. Let's agree to this. We're both not prosecutors. We're both not cops. I've been prosecuted. You haven't. I know that it takes several days to get an indictment because they do not want to come after you without having everything in line for the case. Even if they got broad evidence right there. Okay, look, you can see him walking into the store. You can see him punching that kid in the face. Yeah, but we've got to do our due diligence because I do not want to lose this case because if we lose this case, he goes free. And no. What lawyer will watch somebody kill somebody clear as day and think, well, we need to make sure we don't lose this case? You got the murder on video. The person that wants to prosecute him and not lose. All right, I don't know. You got to get your eggs in the basket. I mean, trust. I get where you're coming from. No, you don't. I don't think you do. Simple as I 100% do, and that's the problem that I have is that
you and the people in the chats and just a juice. I don't owe him money on election. I already won mine because he thought that Trump was going to be prosecuted on his charges before August. That was the bet. Pay attention. Know your facts. Fuck.
He was prosecuted.
No, he wasn't. It is still in, what is it called? Appeal.
Well, you know how many people spend years in prison while things get appealed? He has a lot of privilege, Julio. It ain't, most people in his position, most people in Trump's position would probably be sitting in jail while they're waiting on appeal. There are people who spend years in jail that actually win their appeals. Most people don't. Trump is getting a lot of privileges. He's delaying the sentence. Most people who got 34 felonies would never have that happen. So he's surviving, but it's in a way that virtually no other American would survive. I don't even think Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos would get some of that stuff.
Yeah, and you're right, because a lot of those people, right, are going to plea out and end it so they don't have to go through.
He was found guilty and they delayed his sentence so he could run.
Right.
Can you imagine being found guilty of something? You say, well, look, I'm about to apply for a job.
Found guilty without defense. Let's be real about that, though. He was found guilty without being able to have a real defense. That trial was none of those trials that he has had have been good cross-examination trials.
Julio, every felon in America thinks that.
No, that's just facts from what you see on the TV. They did not get to plead their case. They did not get to question certain witnesses. That was a gross negligence of law.
Every felon in America thinks they were wrongfully convicted. So many.
Right, and Donald Trump is showing you how to freaking win and stand up for yourself and be right when you are right. That's the problem. You guys can say he's wrong all you want. You can say he sucks all he want. But when you look at his track record, he may not have the freaking the personality that you align yourself with, but when you look at what he did for America and what he's gonna do for America again, you can't argue that he is the best president we have had in a long ass time. He might not be the most politically correct, and sorry for your fucking tears. Sorry for all of them. Fucking snowflakes. It fucking irritates me.
Wait, hold on. Hold the hell on.
You go at a goddamn thing with a bunch of fucking liberals who all they did the entire fucking night is make fun of a fucking car that had Trump on it. They're a bunch of little whiny ass bitches. That's my point.
You're gonna say fucking liberals and fucking snowflakes, and your party is going apeshit because Trump called them garbage. Trump called them deplorables. They called him ultra MAGA. Your party does that too. Nobody likes to be called names. It sounds great when Trump is doing it, but when MAGA gets called names, they don't like it either.
Oh, it's not that we don't like it. It's just, it's like if I'm calling you stupid and I know you're not smart, then I know you're smart and I'm calling you stupid and I'm calling you stupid. It gets annoying to hear something that's not true all the fucking time.
Like Kamala Harris being a communist? Like Obama being born in Kenya?
He might have been. No, that was proven false. I'm not even going to go there with you. I'm just joking. But communist Kamala, she wants the government to help you buy a house. She wants the government to help you get your medical. She wants the government to help you with your schooling. She wants the government to control it all.
So Trump wanting to give police immunity from prosecution, what kind of government is that?
Well, that's another thing that we know that's not true from Lumberjack's freaking Lumberjacks thing. You guys argued about that for a long time too.
No.
Again,
what do you mean it's not true?
The power to do that, and I've said it to you as well. It is not possible for the president of the United States to dictate what happens in local municipalities or local state governments.
But it's possible. Here's what I don't get. When Trump hold on. Here's what I don't get. When Trump promises to do something that is radical, well, you don't have to worry about that because he can't do it. But when the liberals talk about taking away guns or Obama talks about spreading the wealth around, you don't hear that. He actually can't do that either. You don't hear the right say that. They hold them accountable for radical statements, but Trump somehow gets a pass. How does that work?
He's not getting a pass.
Yeah, you just gave him one.
Listen. When Kamala's going against guns, the people who don't want the guns are going to be with her. They're going to side with her regardless. It's no different. Party lines are party lines. When Trump says he wants to give cops immunity, what he's trying to say to you, Tim, and stop and frisk, what he's saying to you, Tim, is in Chicago, he wants you to walk home safe. He wants your daughters to walk home safe. He wants people to get home safe. So, yeah, he's going to throw out immunity because he wants cops to do their jobs. He can't do that. But what he's saying is he wants to be able to have the cops do their jobs and not have to fear about going to jail because, let's say, you get a little frisky and now it's a fight. Guns come out. People get shot. That's a bad freaking day.
Okay, so they get immunity anytime they shoot somebody.
No, they don't. They don't.
What does immunity from prosecution mean?
At a federal level, that means they're not going to spend the rest of their life in jail, but they're going to lose their pensions, they're going to lose their jobs, and they might have out of this some civil liability that comes along with it.
That doesn't. Then they're not immune.
They're immune from federal prosecution.
He didn't say federal.
Okay. The only way that he can make them immune from any prosecution is at a federal level.
All right.
I mean, you should understand that. I mean, you and Lumberjack and you and what's the other guy's name?
I don't.
The chat you were in when I was in the chats.
I don't.
Just the other day, you guys.
I talked to so many black. I prefer black MAGA, so I talked to so many African American MAGA. I don't remember all their names, so I don't remember.
So essentially, to the people listening, when he says immunity, he can't do anything on a local level. It's all on a federal level, which means he's going to go to jail.
Here's what I don't get, Julio. It doesn't matter if you make a wild promise if you can or can't do it. Such as Kamala Harris talking about giving people money to pay for houses and stuff like that. There's no guarantee Congress is going to approve that shit. So
if they want communism, it is.
Well, if they want the police to abuse people, it is. So
but that's not communism. It's something else.
What the point I'm making though is we give Trump credit when he makes wild statements under the guise that he can't do them. But when liberals make wild statements like taking away your guns, which one guy cannot end your Second Amendment rights. One dude cannot do that. But yet we're continuing to suggest that one liberal is going to take away your Second Amendment rights. You don't hear the right saying, well, you don't have to worry about that. He can't do that. But when Trump is doing it, we're suddenly like, well, don't worry about it. He can't do it. So you're giving Trump this hierarchy of sorts.
Well, just understand that he wants to make America strong. He wants to make it safe. He wants to make it healthy. And he wants to make it great.
All right.
Those are the things that he wants to do. If immunity comes off of the tip of his tongue because he's thinking about how can I make sure my cops can do their jobs.
You'll give him a pass.
Yeah, because his policy is better than his rhetoric.
All right, Julio, I'll end it there. A lot of folks favor you on YouTube. I've seen a lot of folks suggesting that you were kicking my ass. Well, I disagree with them 100%, but they enjoyed you.
Because it's Tim, listen, I love you to death. You know that. I think you're a great person from the relationship that I have with you through this TikTok app. I would love to shake your hand, have a drink with you, show you me in person, because you're going to see how I interact with people, and you're going to see that, okay, this conservative guy who gives a shit about this country really does give a shit about this country.
All right.
And for the people on YouTube, join TikTok so you guys can hit my heart button and give me a couple of those damn coins for making good points once in a while.
I don't know. I gotta go, Julio. Thanks for coming through, by the way.
I appreciate you.
Thank you. All right. Moving on with the program, and I had him on for a while. I should have asked him more about Liz Cheney, but I kind of know where he would have went. But Julio's always a pleasure to talk to. Trump lies every time he opens his mouth, says Dorothy Loves. I've said before that I do believe on paper Trump should have got a second term, but him opening his mouth is probably the biggest detriment to his progress. Is that like the whole Liz Cheney thing, why? You're not running against Liz Cheney. That just was a self-inflicted wound. Will it cost him votes? Maybe, maybe not. It won't gain him any votes. That was a self-inflicted wound, which you may have other Republicans that had a great relationship with Liz Cheney or Liz Cheney's father that might simply be like, I like Trump's policies, but listen, I got nothing but respect for the Cheneys. I can't vote for this guy because maybe I'm not sure he's not going to go after them. He didn't gain any votes, regardless of how you took his comment, whether it was taken out of context or whatever the case may be on Liz Cheney. It didn't gain him any votes. It was a self-inflicted wound that might have cost him 1 or 2 votes here or there. Just totally unnecessary. Totally unnecessary to do it less than a week before election. Now, Biden, referring to MAGA as garbage, could also be reviewed that way, but Biden ain't running for president. They're trying to tie Kamala to it, but Kamala Harris didn't say it. But yeah, making wild, controversial statements less than a week before the election Not smart. Not smart. And I don't, even though Trump supporters are trying to defend his comment about Liz Cheney and say it's legit or whatever, it's unnecessary. She's not running for office. You don't need to bang her right now. You don't need to, saying inflammatory shit about Liz Cheney is just simply because she's saying inflammatory shit about him. That was all that was about. It was a revenge play. Lose. Liz Cheney don't have nothing to lose. He does. So he should have let that one pass, in my opinion. Liz Cheney is on the campaign trail with Kamala. Yeah, so is millions of other people. You're not going to gain anything by counterattacking Liz Cheney. Calling her a warmonger is not going to cause any liberals to switch over to Trump because Liz Cheney's not in a position of power anymore. Liz Cheney, I don't know how long she was in D.C. as a Wyoming congresswoman, but obviously her dad goes back quite a ways as well. They got Republican friends out there. There's no denying that under the Bush administration, they got friends out there that are Republicans. Why go after them when they're not in power anymore? Like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if some Republicans that are friends of those folks, look, we go back a long way. I believe Trump got the best policies, but I don't want to put the Cheneys in danger if they believe he is after them. I don't want to, I'd rather just leave it alone. Maybe they don't vote for Kamala. Maybe they don't vote at all. Look at it in the comments. I just think it was a self-inflicted wound. I think it was unnecessary. It was a revenge play because Liz Cheney's on the stump attacking him, so he just decided to fire back. That's kind of what he does. Sid says, thank you for the super chat, by the way, Sid, out of CA. Tim, both candidates are poor choices. The United States of Israel. We are going to back Israel no matter which candidate wins. That is true. Politicians only serve the wants of Israel and not Americans. I don't think that's the only thing they're doing is serving the wants of Israel. Now, we want access to the Middle East. So we are going to side with Israel. There's no denying. And plus, there's a lot of money coming out of Israel. So people, at the end of the day, the Supreme Court made it so that you can put money in politics. You can continue putting money in politics. So we are in a nation where I believe at least some of the shit is being purchased. Elon Musk promising to give people $1 million for signing a petition. You know damn well, for my beloved Maga, you know damn well you'd have a problem with that if some liberal did that. Imagine George Soros, the king of all of what's liberal, paying people $1 million. The right would be going apeshit. Elon Musk is essentially taking up the role of George Soros. He's in the beginning of it, but he's starting to do the same thing. A rich guy funding right-wing causes. Suddenly it's not a problem anymore for the right. It only was a problem when George Soros was doing it. It wasn't a problem when the Koch brothers was doing it either. So, but I do believe what Elon Musk is doing is really borderlining on buying political affiliation and things like that. Which party voted for Citizens United? Voting for Citizens United is a reference to what, though? What are you getting at? Trump didn't start a war. How about that? No, I don't think. Did Obama start any wars? The guy before him, I don't recall Obama starting any wars either. We were already in Afghanistan and Iraq when Obama took office. In fact, Obama ended the war in Iraq, and then Trump came along and ended the war in Afghanistan. Please vote for Kamala Harris. I'll go to the box. Lizzie Drizzen, I think that says, please vote for Kamala Harris. It's the best for the whole world. Wow. No, that's not true. I don't think the people of Russia, particularly Vladimir Putin, want Kamala Harris to win. It's not in their best interest. I don't think it's in the best interest of, let me see, other than Russia, it's not in the best, well, Kamala Harris would be in the best interest of the Ukraine. Probably, I don't know about China. Trump's stance on China sometimes go from volatile to friendly. I don't quite know. But I think it would be in a better interest for North Korea because Trump is far more friendlier to Kim Jong-un than you would get out of a liberal government or even a traditional Republican government. So for some countries, it's not better to put Kamala Harris in there. It's better to put Trump in there. Continuing on with the program, Scamala is in panic mode. Democrats are scrambling. Fred Hinkle, you are right. Democrats are in panic mode. But I'll say this before I go to the next caller. You talk to Republicans, you talk to Democrats, rather. Democrats, as he said, are in panic mode. Democrats are very concerned. You know, Trump might win. Some folks even talking about I might lead the country or some bullshit like that. Democrats are in a panic. I do agree with what my viewer Fred Hinkle has said. However, however, you talk to Republicans, they're playing cool in the game. Celebration. They're celebrating. The election is in the bag. Here's what I don't understand. There's no polls that back that up. There's no educated information that suggests Trump is running away with it that would justify what MAGA or what Trump supporters think. It's a close race. Every poll, every study says that. All of the political analysts are saying that. Now, some are saying Trump is going to win. Some are saying Kamala is going to win. But no one is saying Trump is running away with it. So why Trump supporters think that, I don't know. He could win. But considering the mindset that Trump supporters have right now, where he can't lose, he got it in the bag, if Trump loses, they're going to be far more disappointed, in my opinion, than Kamala Harris supporters. Because Kamala Harris supporters believe they believe she can lose. Trump supporters believe he's already won. So I do believe that the Trump side are going to be far more disappointed if their candidate loses. Continuing on with the program, Fuzzy, another subscriber. Good afternoon, if I'm getting that right. Almost evening. Good afternoon, Fuzzy. Miss Mobetta's in there. Okay. Fuzzy, good afternoon.
I'll be quick. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey, I've told that to my wife. She didn't like it back in the day, my ex-wife. But I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Did that guy seriously just citation lumberjack multiple times?
Yes.
The lumberjack, first, let's start off with the most racist black man I've ever met in my life. I've talked about it on multiple occasions, but that is just stupid. Let's talk about
Lumberjack. Before you continue on, I had a debate once with Lumberjack where he was trying to suggest that the slave trade from Africa to America never took place because he was saying, where are the slave ships? And when somebody suggested that there's a slave ship off the coast of Mobile, Alabama that sunk, he said, well, where's the manifesto? We don't believe the slave. I'm like, do you realize they did try to hide all of the fact that they did this shit? Families of slave owners don't keep the list of the slaves they used to own. They tried to get rid of. He don't believe the slave trade took place.
We got Jimmy, we got Tyrone, we got Dio. That's lumberjack. He's not very bright. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but you do you, bro.
Yeah. I talk to him occasionally. I like talking to him. We don't have to agree, but I couldn't believe he was trying to denounce the slave trade. Like, well, how the hell you think we all got here? He was like, well, there was dark Mexicans and Native Americans already in the country. It was bad.
Did he really say that?
Yeah, he really said that. He's trying to deny the slave trade. A black man.
Anyways, I had a bunch of things I wanted to talk about. Let's talk about where the polls land right now. If there's anyone that thinks that Trump is up in any poll, and polls I don't care about, I really don't. But Trump is running away with it. They've got to get their heads on straight because it's going to be a scary day on Tuesday. Yeah. I can't guarantee Kamala's going to win. But you guys, Trump is not running away with it by any means. And not a single poll agrees that Trump will win. Not a single one.
Well, I played a clip on the program the other day because Trump actually stated we're leading in all 50 states.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah. Not a chance.
No.
Not a chance. And then when you decide that you're going to switch your campaign from actually being a campaign to I am going to target white supremacists, that's literally what has happened. He has gone from, hey, I'm not going to win this way, so I'm going to get the favor of white supremacists. Don't tell me New York, Madison Square Garden wasn't that. All the rhetoric right now is targeting, saying, hey, white supremacists, I'm your guy. And that is what is happening. If you take a step back, it's what is happening right now.
Well, I got to get you to explain that or elaborate on it, because folks are like, what the hell do you mean targeting white supremacists? What is Trump doing, in your opinion, that would make white supremacists favor him?
Well, okay, have you watched New York?
Yeah, Madison Square Garden, I watched it.
Right, yeah. That whole rally. I mean, you had 25 guests up there. All. I mean, Puerto Rico's white trash. Our trash. You had the watermelon comment. And all of them, every single person. Did he denounce any of it that day?
No. But they're going to say that was just a comedian hired to tell jokes, and that's what they do.
Oh, I know what they're going to say. I've been to comedy shows. I've heard racism and funny jokes at comedy shows. Not on that stage, my friend.
Yeah. And I gotta agree from the standpoint of, just like I mentioned, the whole Liz Cheney thing, self-inflicted wound. It's only like a week to the election. This is not the place and time to start attacking Puerto Ricans. I mean, like, there's a lot of Puerto Ricans that were going to vote for him. Like, why would you just, if you don't know what the comedian's going to say, don't hire that comedian. Don't hire a controversial comedian that you have no clue what's going to come out of their mouth.
But they knew what it was. They actually took the "see you next Tuesday" word out of his mouth. Yep. They said, "No, this is not good, but you could do this." And I don't care what you say. Yeah, they said, "Okay, it's all right to say this one." I don't know. It feels a whole lot like they're just going at they've lost the woman vote. Well, let's go at the white male vote. Let's wrap that one up in the bag. They've already got the misogyny vote. We've already figured that out. That's what's happening right in front of our faces.
And I want to respond to a comment real quick before we continue on. Katrina Marie says Liz Cheney made racist comment. Liz is not running for president. You don't need to punch down and attack everybody that's criticizing Trump. Kamala Harris, the same would apply to her. She's not running for president. She's not going to be in power. Who gives a damn what she says? There are people at Trump rallies that may say something crazy about Kamala Harris as well. I mean, people calling her a socialist. You got Trump using his hands to indicate she's sucking dick or whatever. You can't attack every damn body. If she made a racist comment, so be it. But you can't attack everybody.
And for the record, you cannot be a Marxist, a socialist, and a communist at the same time.
Simultaneously. Yeah.
You just cannot be. The rhetoric is, and everyone says, stop saying your rhetoric because that's what got him pew-pewed. One, let's be clear, and I'm going to say this out loud. He was not hit by a bullet. I don't give a fuck who you are, where you are at. There is not a bullet that hit his fucking ear. I'm in nursing. I know what a fucking bullet wound looks like.
So what happened? He was clearly bleeding.
Oh, when he was tackled, something cut him. Yeah, a watch band, anything. I mean, who knows? But he was not. Thank you for the galaxy. I think that was to me. Yeah, it was.
It was to you. Yeah, it was. I haven't got a galaxy. But when he went down,
Galaxy Tim. I want 2 galaxies for Tim right now because he's a good guy.
When he went down, he's holding his ear because the photographer kept snapping photos of him. He's on the ground with the Secret Service above him. There's clearly blood dripping out of his ear. Something clipped him on the ear. You said it wasn't a bullet?
No, definitely not. 100% wasn't. The bullet did not hit. You know what a bullet does to an ear? You know what have you ever had your ear busted up? It's instant. It breaks open. It just boom. If a bullet hit that, he would still be.
What if it's just a tiny,
Here, let me do it for you. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
What about a nanometer graze? Okay, or maybe a round goes by and it's so close the shockwave ripped off some skin.
Maybe a shockwave, maybe a burn. I don't know. I mean, you would have to convince me a lot otherwise. I'm not saying the thing was staged. I'm not saying he intended for that gentleman on the roof to be unalived. I'm not saying that he knew this whole thing was going to play out that way, but he was not hit by a bullet. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
And I see somebody in the comments says air pressure, pounds per square inch, would blow his eardrum out.
There's that too.
I don't know anything about ballistics, but I mean, you're talking about a long rifle, what was it, an AR style weapon. It does. I mean, we've seen what those do to other people. So, I mean, but Trump is God. Maybe the bully was like, "Fuck no." So the bully was on his way there. Was like, "Oh hell no, that's Trump," and he went around and made a mistake on the way past.
Here, God told me to turn my head this way, right? Is that what we're talking about? So, no, there's this dude that I talk to every once in a while. He is coolly drinking, all right? This guy's name is Justin. I'm sure if you don't know him, some of the people, his name is Justin, or the real Justin, or what have you. The dude is full into and he really believes that Jesus Christ put his hand on Trump's shoulder and said, "You are our next Messiah." And this dude is fucking woo.
I've talked to a lot of viewers that believe that Trump was ordained by God, so that does make sense. I mean, which also too, because people keep saying they're a cult and all of this other crazy stuff. Well, if you truly believe the guy was sent by, Jesus Christ himself, I could see why you would follow him anywhere he went. I mean, he has a direct connection to heaven. Now, I don't know why my last caller got removed. Fuzzy, appeal, whatever. I mean, you should be to get back in. I don't know why he got removed from the program, but you guys know I don't block, ban, or censor anyone, but occasionally guests get taken off by the app for strange reasons. That was a perfect example of that, because I've been to rallies, and like I said, I've had people tell me that Trump is a direct descendant of God or a direct appointee. So I don't know why, other than somebody was hating and tried to report him or something. I don't know. Remember the Bible he held upside down, says Sid. Not only the one he held upside down, but he's selling them too for a pretty absorbent price, like $59, $69, $99 or something like that. So I don't know. We wouldn't know if he pissed himself. He did have his diaper on. Why do you folks keep saying Trump wears a diaper? Why do y'all say that? Somebody, okay, continue on the program. May God choose the right person. I don't think God got a damn thing to do with our politics. I don't, when you look at how America has been ran, literally from day one, you really think God would have anything to do with that shit? How we basically took the country, colonized the nation, mistreated the original inhabitants, then brought a pack of slaves with us that we were, basically, forcing them to work and raping them. You really think God had anything to do with this shit? The way we're, immigrants or rapists and murderers, we're going to send all them back home. Some of them that don't even know the language of where they came from. If a mom brought over a kid at 2 years old from Venezuela or Guatemala, that kid at 2 years old learned to speak English. Everything he knows is American. We're going to send that kid back home because Trump is talking about getting rid of DACA and all of that. You really think God would be okay with that? I don't think Jesus has anything to do with our politics. I mean, I don't see the Christianity in it at all. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps and all that. That sounds Christian to you? Capitalism. That sounds Christian to you? I'm not going to give you health care because it might cost me too much. I don't see the Christianity in America at all. I don't think God has not one damn concern with our politics. It just doesn't fit what we've been told. It just doesn't. I mean, even right now, we're passing laws, pro-life laws, which I do believe God would be more favorable to pro-life, but we're not doing a damn thing to help the women that are going to have these kids. I don't see the God-like in any of this stuff at all, which has led me to personally start, not necessarily being, because I was brought up Christian and I began to disassociate myself because I just don't see it. I don't see it at all. Timoteo, good evening. Welcome to the program. Timoteo, you always bring a hell of a commentary. You never disappoints. Timoteo, good evening.
Good evening. How you doing? Good afternoon from where I'm at.
Okay, fair enough. What brought you up?
Well, I'm definitely not trying to get up here so I can get, zapped again by your lovely followers.
You always get zapped. We know why, but what brought you in?
Well, there's a lot of things that bring me in every time, but sometimes that, you'll start going off on one subject and I'll start having my opinion on one and then I want to tell you it. So I get on there and I wait and I wait.
Well,
and I wait.
you already...
So many of them.
Huh?
You go through so many of them that by the end of the day, I feel like I'm just sitting here overwhelmed by just unbelievable accusations left and right. And let me just say before I get started that thank God that your entire platform is based on opinions, feelings,
free speech,
and what we think or feel, rather than facts. Because there's a lot of things that you bring up that go back to law, and the reason why it goes back to law is because this country is under the rule of law. That's what everybody always says, and that's the truth.
Okay.
So when you start talking about the law, the problem with the law, and the reason why people are so fearful in this country, is because the law doesn't tell you clearly how to assert your rights the correct way. So since none of us know how to correctly assert our rights, we all live in fear of what they can do taking our rights. Okay? Now, if you know how to assert your rights, that's why you sit back like I do as I'm listening to your program. And I think to myself, people are just so out of it. These people are sitting here having conversations, acting like they know something, like they're educated, like they have so much experience with everything they're talking about. And yet they have no idea the one single fundamental thing that is the most important to every single American. They have no idea how to assert their rights so they don't have to live in those fears. That's my problem today.
Okay.
And if you understood how to assert, your common law rights in any situation, then you would understand that there's nothing they can do to you. Nothing. And people are confused. What is a right? Okay? When you're conceived, you have a right to be born by natural law, by the law of that God that we're all here doubting right now. Okay? And by that law...
What are you saying? A fetus?
Which is observed by every country in the world. It's international law because it's God's law. It's our created way, okay? We were created at conception, okay? Now, to think that there's any right beyond that to end that right of that conceived thing, okay, whatever you want to call it, that's where you're out of touch with what a right is.
So let me ask you this. Hold on. So let me get in here somewhere. So if you got a woman that may be on the cusp of losing her life if they don't terminate the life of the child, are you saying that the procedure should be always to save the life of the unborn first? I mean, what if there's a choice where you got to take the life of one of these people to save the other? You're saying
for me to say either way, Tim, is for me to overstep my bounds as another human being. Okay? For the government to say either way is for them to overstep their bounds in that situation.
So who decides?
It's up to that person what they can deal with their conscience and with their creator, because that's the ultimate only person who really matters in that situation. Okay? And it's not for me, because I'm not going to have to suffer whatever they have to suffer if they made a bad decision. Okay? It's up to them.
Okay,
I'm not here to say that, here's the thing. You guys are talking about one side of one wing of the eagle or another wing of the eagle. But regardless of which wing you're talking about, the eagle still has to fly with both those wings. Okay? And with the problem is that people are so caught up being on one of those wings that they forgot that they're supposed to be running the eagle.
I don't know where you're going with that. I'm clueless to that. What are you getting at here?
You don't know that because you don't look at the Constitution. Okay? The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Supreme law of the land. Get that through your head. Okay? And until you understand the Constitution, you know nothing about your citizenship. You know nothing about being a fucking American. Period.
Okay.
There's no arguing with that. Okay? And with these characters that they put on stage and make you believe that they're going to lead you in the right direction, read the back of your voter card.
So what are you saying, that neither Kamala or Trump are going to lead us in the right direction?
What I'm saying is if you're putting your faith in another man to lead you in the right direction, you're putting your faith in the wrong fucking place every single fucking time. Okay. Only you have the ability to make this place different. If you want it to be different, you be the change. That's it. And if we all are working together to be the same change, then God, wow, we just found heaven.
No, okay? Wait. People are never going to work together because they have a different belief of how the country should be ran.
That's why you have the municipalities that you have everywhere. Because typically, if you look at it, I know here in LA, there's Little Tokyo, there's Chinatown, there's Little Italy, there's, we have all these little spots, our Little Armenia, little, everywhere, Saigon, you name it. Okay.
So let's get to the
people tend to flock together.
Okay, let's get to the actual.
Together.
Okay, let's get to the actual conversation. And I get it. You need to know about the Constitution. But what I want to ask you is this: with not Kamala Harris, with the whole Liz Cheney thing, what happened there? Are people taking that out of context?
You're again. I can't get into those biting points. Those are all biting points to distract you from the real problem.
Then why was it said?
Is people want to make believe that they got my opinion on this is this, and that's the right way because of this. Dude, nobody cares about any of that.
Well, now I gotta. Well,
guess what's gonna happen? Another puppet's gonna be put in the office, and another group of puppets is gonna run us another way. It's a handing over from one master to the next.
Well, speaking of puppets, now you believe Biden is a puppet, correct?
All of them are puppets, Tim.
Well, wait a minute. You believe Biden is not even alive right now.
You're not going to get me walking down that path, bro. You're not. I'm not going to get, dreamed by your viewers again. I'm not. So I'm not even going there today.
Then we, if we can't have a conversation, then what are we doing? I'm asking you, if you can't answer yes or no.
The conversation I'm trying to have with you is that you're looking at points that actually in the bottom line.
But I want to make sure I put you in context. You can say yes or no. Is Biden alive or not?
I'm not answering that.
Is Hillary Clinton alive or not?
I'm not answering.
Why can't you tell us if? Why can't you?
Because your viewers love that. They're trigger happy.
They're not trigger happy. The fact is,
trigger happy, bro. That's why everybody gets kicked off your live.
They're saying
that you're all about free speech.
They're saying
I come in here every single time. There's never been a time. Never.
All right.
I guarantee you this time's gonna be one of them. But I'm gonna try to get off before they get that far because I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't said anything wrong.
Well, because I'm not able to have a conversation. I'll go ahead and end it here then, because if you're not answering questions, then what's the purpose of it? But
learn the Constitution, learn how to assert your rights, and stop living in fear. Be a real American. That's what I'm saying today.
All right. Thank you. Tim. Appreciate it. All right, moving on with the program, and I was putting him in context so he didn't want to talk about, because there are some things he said, such as Nancy Pelosi was taken out by the government a couple years ago and Hillary Clinton's not alive and things like that. He's mentioned that Trump wrote a second Declaration of Independence before he didn't want to, because he does get banned sometimes for saying that. But I wanted to put him in context because he's making strong statements. I want people to understand that he has these beliefs. He believes passionately in what he believes in, but if you believe in something, but you can't answer the question of whether you do or not, then it is what it is. Our country thrives on low-frequency noise, says it's too deep. Be a real American from a guy who won't answer questions. He was dodging questions. There's no denying that. Let me go back to the box. He was dodging questions. Miss Mo Better. No one does it better. Closer than close. Good evening. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon. Peace and blessings to everybody on here. Tim, I don't know how you sat so long with Julio on the line. That shit gave me such a migraine. I was like, this motherfucker. Like, bro. And see, that's what makes the left dislike MAGA, because of the shit how he displays. What you have to do when it comes to people is pay attention to patterns. Donald Trump's pattern has been all negative. That's the spirit he carries. So for the Christians that out there that want to get into the Bible and all kinds of stuff like that, Donald Trump carries a ugly spirit. And that's just why it happens. And he displays it. He lets it come out of his mouth. Just because you're big and bold enough to what comes out of your mouth, comes out of your mouth, does not make you that man. It makes you foolish.
Then why don't, if you're saying that he's negative and he has this negative spirit, 74 million people voted for him, Miss Mobetta. And a lot of blacks have voted for him. How is that working?
You know, when Lucifer got kicked out of heaven, he took a third of the angels with him.
Damn.
You're seeing it in the flesh right now.
Now you're comparing MAGA. You're comparing MAGA to a bunch of demons right now.
That's how they act. Like I said, pay attention to the patterns. Listen, that's not to say people on the Democratic side is not, you don't have some idiots over there. But for me to claim that the MAGA is not showing that their horns right now, I'd be remiss. Look at those kids showing up to polling stations with machetes and different shit like that. That you think that's patriotic to you, the MAGA? Is that patriotic? That's what you do? Just because we have difference of opinions, political opinions, I could show up and try to intimidate you? That's not how that works. But so Trump has mommy issues. If you read his family's books and shit and see his mother herself put it in a newspaper ad and said if her son was to ever run for president, that would be a mess.
Yeah, I heard that.
He's mad at his mother. So because he can't go at her, he gonna go after every other woman around him that's not on their knees to him.
Damn. So you believe he truly has a disdain for females in general?
He really does it. He shows that. Talking about grabbing them by the pussy. He had the pageant with nothing but a room full of teenagers. He walks in there on them like it's okay, and when they're naked, like he has no respect for women. And people saying that he's not racist, you don't have to intend something in order to achieve it.
Before you go into the racism part, you're saying his view on women. Why is it that so many women are voting? I get a lot of female MAGA on the program all the time. If he's this bad towards women, how do you explain that?
A lot of them are wives of Trump supporting men. A majority of them are married to Trump supporting men. And they feel when the white American male was in power of everything is when America was great. That's what MAGA means to them.
Wow. So it's a time where folks like you and I didn't have a fair shake.
No, a lot of time where we couldn't attend school. Even on the plantations, we weren't even allowed to read. If you got caught reading or trying to learn education and all of that stuff, guess what? You were punished. You were punished, if not unalived. So, yeah, like I said, and one of your callers earlier was saying, not every Trump supporter is racist, but everyone that's racist is a supporter of his.
That can't be true. Wait, hold on. You know there are blacks that don't like whites and are racist towards whites.
They racist too. Black people can be racist against their own people.
But they're not gonna.
That's why Candace Owens has so many supporters, because she constantly shoots at black people. She constantly comes out of her mouth. Yeah, she's smart. She know a lot of shit, whatever. However, she shoots at the black people first.
Yeah, you're not gonna hear much positive about the black community from Candace Owens. I agree with
Absolutely
that.
Not.
But if you are a black person and you have this intolerance towards whites, you're not gonna be joining MAGA. You're gonna probably be a liberal.
You should be. That's just not happening, though. Mm-hmm. That's not happening. She knows it's a better beneficial for her to go at them, because a lot of the money is on the Republican side, according to her beliefs or whatever. So, my thing is, if she was really that strong, you'd be corrective to your peoples. And this is for anybody. To be corrective. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, brothers, listen, sister, this is what we're doing. We're on XYZ. No, she goes straight, shot, no chaser. And that's why that heifer, I would never fuck with that heifer. Look, you call it Trump talking about Liz Cheney should be in front of a firing squad. I'm paraphrasing. That's disgusting. How do you want something like that to represent you? Anybody that does not bow down to him and on their knees kissing his ass or his ring is a bad guy. Is a bad guy, because he knows they have money and they have power. So that's why he's really big mad.
But the right seems to be holding on to him every word. So
yeah, like I said, the MAGA will never hold him accountable for anything. What they do is try to pivot and say what they thought he should have said. That's how they speak. But coming out his mouth, if anybody on here that's needing Affordable Care Act or anything like that, let your man in office. You won't have it.
Yeah, they've been joking about. Yeah, I think
let him in there, and you won't have it. Anybody that deals with the public education system that's voting for MAGA, your kids are gonna be ousted. Because he's going to get rid of the Department of Education. This came out of his mouth. I'm not making this shit up. He said it.
Now, I point out interesting comments. And when you come on a program, your passion sometimes bring out some really controversial counter statements. Now,
I know.
well, today is no different. T2 on YouTube says she's referring to you, obviously. She secretly loves white men. She leaves us flat for rich white man. She's an Uncle Tom secret. Well, she might be talking about Candace Owens. I don't know. maybe this person ain't talking about you.
That's referring to Candace.
Yeah, that sounds like that's more Candace.
They can't go anywhere on any of my sites to see me anywhere with a white man, and that's not to say I have anything against them. I have nothing against them, but he has to be referring to she or whoever has to be referring to Candace Owens, which is true. Yeah, you have a whole white husband, and now you want to shoot at the black man. But when you got in trouble back in the day, who'd you go to? The black people, the Muslims, and the black people to try to help protect you. That's what makes her a hypocrite. Fuck your education. Fuck all that stuff. You're a hypocrite.
So what about and I see in the comments somebody responding when you mentioned Candace Owens. Lively Cut says you cannot be racist towards your own race.
Well, you cannot like them, whether it's racist or not. You can dislike your own people. I don't like some people in my own family. What the fuck?
Yeah, you absolutely can have bigoted opinions. You can believe that other blacks are criminals. You can certainly have an issue with your own race. I don't know what, because I know some white people that often say they're embarrassed about their race and things. I know some white people that identify more with the plight of blacks than they do with whites, and I know some blacks that really are heavily critical of other black people. You absolutely can have an intolerance to your own race.
Well, that's like Julio earlier was saying how Antifa was burning down buildings and doing all of this stuff, but MAGA tore up the White House. How much further did you need them to go to say that was disgusting?
Well, he doesn't believe it was MAGA on January 6th. That was Antifa.
Oh, here we go. But yet Trump want to pardon all of them. If that wasn't MAGA, why would Trump want to pardon him? He gonna say, "Oh, leave him there. That wasn't MAGA. That was Antifa." Like you schooled him earlier, which is the same entity.
Yeah, they're anti-fascist, which is what.
Yeah, make that make sense. That's how you could tell people don't be on it. They don't read shit. Let me turn on Fox News, or they keep calling fake news. But where are y'all getting your information from? Right here on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, like everybody the fuck else. And you watching the news. People be lying like a motherfucking town. Lying.
I get my fair bit of
fake news. I mean, it's almost disheartening and funny at the same time. Like this motherfucker can't be serious. You let that shit come out your mouth, you better start talking to yourself before you open that mouth.
So at the end of the day, do you feel concerned at all about this election? Come Wednesday, the day after Election Day, do you think we'll be operating as normal in this country? Depends on who wins.
No, listen, I see now that the day after, if Trump does not win, it's going to be violence because people are already displaying that. Look, I just watched the video where this man was at the poll. He was a Trump supporter. He was voting, and whatever the situation was, he was ready to fight these ladies, fight women. Like, come on, bro. That's patriotic. I mean, I don't know if he was intoxicated, which I'm not blaming that on anything. That was disgusting. He put his hand in, like, mushed the lady in her face. Like, bro.
What about the other way around, though? What about the other way around? If Trump wins, you think the liberals will behave?
They're gonna behave. We're gonna be salty. We might be mad as a motherfucker, but you don't see. And this is why you can't compare the Black Lives Matter things to the January 6th election. The 2020 election. You can't compare the two because looting and rioting and stuff for police injustice is way different to a man get up there lying and say an election was stolen. Those two do not equal out. That shit don't match.
Well, they believe that there was election injustice.
Of course they believe that. And that's why everything was proven that there was no election fraud, but they still don't believe it. So now everybody that went a bar and everybody that said that there was no election fraud, now they're the Antichrist. They are rhinos, and you know, they start. MAGA made up. I wish we had a dictionary of all the words that they made up in Trump's presidency from the time he stepped on the scene till now.
Yeah, I've been wearing a lip tart bracelet since it happened, so I know.
Listen. And he's bigger mad because he had a whole plan to run against Joe Biden, and the liberals punched him in his stomach with that shit. They punched him in the stomach with that. He wasn't ready. So you see, the only thing he does about it is insult Kamala, call her out of her name. Anybody that supports her, they're dumb. I don't want nobody representing me like that. I don't know about the rest of y'all.
But how do you feel? Because this gets brought up all the time. Kamala Harris was not elected. You know, you talk about the Republicans are the threat to democracy, yet you gave up your own democracy by letting them just appoint someone, and you have no say-so as a voter.
See, those smart people, there's the smart people that don't know. She is currently the vice president of this country.
Right.
She is not the president. They have it in their head that she is the president right now. Listen, what they did was legal, very legal, and in the Constitution. If anything was to happen to your successor or whatever, you have the right to step down and allow your vice president to step up. Listen, go get hooked on phonics, Huntington Learning Center, do some shit. The libraries are still open. Go in there and look up some shit. They didn't do anything illegal.
Are you saying that MAGA is having an education issue or lesser educated?
That's what they're showing. That's what they're displaying. Like, and then as soon as you call them out on something, they say, yeah, but, yeah, what about them? The what about them's come into play. All right. So if we're saying that Trump is raggedy and no good, where's your defense for him? It's not shooting at the other person. It's not a defense on his behalf. You're just playing a Who Shot John match. So if I say, if we're saying, he was convicted of 34 felonies or whatever, and that wasn't true, you'd be like, no, the case was thrown out. That's how you defend that.
Well, they believe it was a bunch of bullshit charges.
Of course, because that's the MAGA ploy. It's everything is fake because this is how he talks. This is how he speaks. Look at his rallies. Like, and that's why I always say Trump's lies cost lives.
Ooh.
Look at his rallies. It's full of hate and division and divisiveness. It's full of it.
Well, he could be our next president. I mean,
yeah, that would really suck for us, I believe, because he has things that are against people that look like me. That's why I say that. Wow. You understand? And I have a son that's in law enforcement, so but I still have other sons that is not. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's kind of detrimental to us. Why would you want to take away the Department of Education?
You don't believe that Trump will do anything to target African Americans, though, do you?
No. It won't be him. It'll be people that support him. Like, he gave us full immunity. Let's go. So for the people that saying that he cannot do it locally on the local level, that does not mean that he cannot influence the local level. They're already listening to him.
I've heard people claim that since he came on the scene, folks who have an intolerant or bigoted point of view has felt emboldened to be more outspoken. I've heard people say that.
That's what he is. He's their battery. He gave them that green light. Say what you want to say, because he does it. I'm gonna say what I want to say. I don't give a fuck. He don't say fuck, but he sure would if he didn't think he would be penalized for it. I don't give a damn, but he used other words. I don't give a damn. So you know what I'm saying? Oh, dummy. Oh, bird brain. And what he's really doing is actually talking about himself. That man, number one, he can't read. He does not read well. Check the rallies. He does not read well. That's why he always pivots off and go into his own head. Now listen, I want y'all to go watch Jane. She explained totally where he is. He never gets into his adult mode. He always goes back to the child state, and that's why I say he has mommy issues. He's angry with his mother for some reason. Damn. And they need to get his ass into some counseling. Is what they need to do. Mental illness is real.
Well, he may end up getting counseling while being president in the White House. I got to move it on, Miss Mobetta. We'll know in a little bit over 2 days. Appreciate you coming on.
Yes, vote, people.
Damn right, if you haven't already. Real quick in the comments, El Chefe says full immunity means you can't sue the officer with a host of exclamation points. That's not true. If you sue the officer, that is a civil issue. Trump said he wants to give police immunity from prosecution. You don't get prosecuted in lawsuits. You get prosecuted for committing crimes. So for folks who believe, well, he's talking about, he wants to give them immunity so that they don't face wrongful lawsuits. No, that's a civil issue. If you give somebody immunity from prosecution, that means they committed something that normally would be considered a crime, and you want to give them immunity for it. And I see some folks even bring up qualified immunity. He never used the word qualified either. He said, I want to give a police immunity from prosecution so they can do their jobs. And the obvious pushback is, what can a police not do today as we speak that Trump wants them to be able to do when he is president? In other words, what would they do right now before Trump becomes president that would lead to them being prosecuted for a crime that Trump believes they should be able to do once he's president? That's what immunity from prosecution means. It has nothing to do with lawsuits, frivolous lawsuits or whatever. It has nothing to do with that. Keep them locked up mostly in white cities, mostly in liberal cities rather. Keep them locked up mostly in liberal cities. Well, he's talking about doing the immunity from prosecution in liberal cities, which is why I've said before, for me personally, it's frightening. For somebody like myself, I don't have any criminal history, but I do drive a lot for a living. That's why you see a lot of my live streams in a vehicle. And the idea of being pulled over by a police officer that has complete immunity scares the shit out of me. Not to mention he's talking about giving them the right to stop and frisk as well. So that means you get pulled over. All it is, you can't search my car without a warrant, is no longer applicable. They can do that now too. If you're walking down the street, if the police think you don't look right or you look suspicious or you look whatever, they can just now walk up and stop and frisk. Hopefully that doesn't become the law, but a lot of MAGA, I've talked to a lot of MAGA that supports that. It'll bring down crime. I believe Rudolph Giuliani was known as the father of stop and frisk, and they claim it brought down crime in New York. So a lot of people favor bringing back stop and frisk. My analysis is this. Everyone that supports bringing back stop and frisk, because there are some elder African Americans that believe in it too. Everybody that supports bringing back stop and frisk are in no danger of ever being stopped and frisked. If it could happen to you and you felt like it really could happen, none of this, I'm just going to comply and get nothing to hide. No, if you really had it happen, I don't believe people that have it happen would favor it. Simply because, as I always say, police are human beings just like you or I. They're human beings. They make mistakes just like you or I. I'm not even talking about corruption, which we know exists as well, but I'm just talking about they make mistakes. People have been arrested because the cops found, maybe a grain of rock salt. You put the rock salt down in parts of the country where it snows to melt the snow and clean the roadway. They found rock salt in people's car and actually arrested the person for meth or drugs. Dogs have hinted that they smelled drugs on money and they've seized people's whole paychecks. I know somebody that happened to. Took his whole paycheck and it took him like 6 weeks to get his paycheck back. Think the landlord was okay with waiting 6 weeks for the rent? He got his money back, but it took 6 weeks, court dates and all. Cops make mistakes. Not talking about corrupt cops. I'm simply saying even a good cop can make a mistake, which is why all defense attorneys, all of them, regardless of what race you are, what culture you are, what gender you are, they all tell you, don't consent to a search. You're not going to get a cookie. You're not going to get a reward if you don't have any drugs. You have 3 options when you get searched. You're either going to go to jail, you're going to get a fine, or if they find nothing, they're going to return you back to the neutral position you were before the search started. None of that benefits you. Not one of those outcomes are beneficial to you. So why would you play that game where the only outcome is a negative one? Or you get to be where you're already at. All defense attorneys tell you never to consent to a search without them having a warrant or what. There's no benefit to you in that. But like I said, cops do make mistakes. They do. I mean, what you say could be taken the wrong way, could lead to you getting in trouble. What's in your vehicle could be taken the wrong way. I mean, how many times you've heard people say, I got arrested for a seed of marijuana or a marijuana joint or something? You could walk in the wrong neighborhood and step on something and have it in the sole of your shoe and get in your car. And I know it sounds reaching, but it could happen. And all of a sudden, you don't allow them to search your car and they find this shit in your car and it's drug paraphernalia. I've lived in areas where they had a little small, you ever seen the little tiny baggies? They look like a very tiny example of this bag I'm holding up now. This is a saran wrap type bag. They're like just a fraction of the set. They put drugs in the bag. You could step on that while walking out in public and bring that in your car and not know what's in there. And if they search your car, that's drug paraphernalia. I mean, they make mistakes, just like you or I do. Why would you consent to a search? Folks, well, if you ain't got nothing to hide, you should just let them search you. Just comply, because they might make a mistake. I had a video posted on YouTube a couple years ago of a Hispanic Marine that was leaving one part of the country and moving in or moving closer to his family on the West Coast. He didn't favor banks, sold his business, was traveling across the country with, I don't know, 60, 80 grand of cash, something like that, a large sum of money. Got stopped by police. I believe it was in either Utah or one of those areas over there. Almost reaching his destination. They asked, could they search his car? He had nothing to hide. He was a law-abiding citizen. He gave them authorization to search his car. They came across that money he was carrying. All kinds of red flags went up. There was nothing he could say to convince them he wasn't selling drugs to make that money. Nothing. From the moment they found that money, his fate had been sealed. They ended up taking the money, all of his money, but because he didn't have any crimes or anything to charge him with, they gave him a piece of paper telling him you could fight to get your money back. So now you got to go to wherever small town this is to go to court to get his money back. They left him with nothing. He ended up having to call his family to wire him money so that he could buy gas money to continue the trip he was taking. That guy, it took him 6 months to get his money back. I had done a video on that before. So the idea that if you got nothing to hide, just let them search. Mistakes happen all the time. There's no benefit to letting cops search you because I ain't got nothing to hide on. You don't know what the hell. How many people have went to the airport and forgot they were carrying a gun on them? Well, when you go to an airport, you're consenting to a search. You might have something on you that is in that manner. There's no benefit to consenting to a search. So when folks favor bringing back stop and frisk and all of this shit on the grounds that it would lower crime, yeah, but it's going to injure a lot of innocent people too. I think that some folks are so focused on solving crime and lowering crime that they don't give a damn about the collateral damage that comes along with it. I often use the excuse, let's say you got to be at work at 5 in the morning. Cops see you walking down the street at 5 in the morning. What the hell are you doing out this time of night? Or this time of morning, depending on what season it is. Is your employer going to be okay with you being 20, 30 minutes late to work? Well, because the police stopped and searched me again. Or if you get docked 15, 20 minutes of pay, is the police going to give you that back? No. People are going to get injured by this stuff. You miss your bus, you miss your flight, you lose money in all of this. The police ain't going to make you whole. So folks are favoring lowering crime. They don't give a damn about all the innocent people that's going to be harmed by it. And make no mistake about it, this will ruin the relationship between police and the people that are being stopped and frisked. Whatever that relationship is, it's not going to get any better once you start stopping and frisking a bunch of innocent people all over the place. And God forbid you get angry or belligerent doing this search of you and your person when you're doing nothing wrong. Now you might get arrested. Assuming you don't get your ass beat. People get angry when they're being searched and ain't doing nothing wrong. Or maybe the cop searching you, where the weed at, where the gun at? Accusing you of shit you didn't do. So now you get angry and upset. Well, then the cop gets angrier and more upset. This is what happens. When they telling you it lowers crime, they're not telling you about all of that other stuff. All of this is what happens. Don't ever consent to being searched if you ain't did nothing wrong. There's no benefit to it. Looking in the comments, stop and frisk is inherently racist. It will be done predominantly in minority neighborhoods, just like it used to be violating the bodily autonomy of black and brown people. Wow, says Katrina. Well, I think they kind of admitted that it overwhelmingly affects black and brown people because our neighborhoods do have the most out in the open type crimes, blue collar crimes, stealing catalytic converters, things that you got to be outside to do. You're not going to stop and frisk people so that you can bring down bank fraud, for instance. So yeah, they're going to target more black and brown people. And then of course, Trump stated, I'm going to work with liberal mayors and liberal governors in liberal cities to do this. So who's committing most of the crime in liberal cities? So he pretty much came out and said, it's going to be people of color. So with Trump, I think it's pretty obvious on that. D Love says, sir, please stop. You could have elaborated a little bit more on that. I don't mind the criticism, D. I believe in free speech, but stop what? Let me know where I'm getting it wrong. I don't mind you, being okay with the criticism. You got to add more to it than that. Lots of lawyers, doctors gonna get locked up. But they're not going to search and they're not going to stop and frisk lawyers and doctors because you can move in a different neighborhood and avoid that. It's going to be the poor people, predominantly people of color, that can't avoid it. Laughing my ass off when the Democrats were religious conservatives. Laughing my when the Democrats were religious conservatives, but read my above comment. When will you guys learn you can't gotcha an educated man? What the hell are you talking about there, Chucks? Real quick, just looking. It's not exactly. You are describing the Democratic Party from the 1960s. You are stuck in the past, just like most MAGA. Yeah, I don't know what you're saying there. I guess you're talking to somebody else. Nothing confused here. Union carpenter, dad, county worker, mom, and I was a teamster. I know the Democrat Party from city, county, state, and federal levels. This isn't the 1930s or 1950s. Yeah, a lot of folks want to indicate that the Democratic Party is still the party it was 100 years ago. It's not. There was a party situation flip. I've played the Martin Luther King clips where he's admitting the party is switching right in front of his face. If you don't want to believe it, you're not going to believe it. I get it. But when you look at who, let's say the Democratic Party, the party of slavery, look at who they were fighting. When the Democrats were the party of slavery, the party of the Confederate South, look at who they were fighting against. They were fighting against the Union. They were fighting against the Northerners. Now look at the Republican Party, who the Democrat Party was fighting against, because the Republican Party was for abolition of slavery. Now you look at the Republican Party in modern times. Who's defending the pro-slave participants that existed during that day? It's Republicans. Why would all of a sudden you want to defend statues and the flag and all of this stuff of the people that were trying to kill you? Clearly some kind of switch happened. My assumption is you would never have been able to go to a Republican back from the late 1700s and tell him you should be defending the Confederate flag and the generals that were trying to kill you last week. They'd have been like, are you fucking crazy? So clearly some kind of switch happened. Now, Zach C in the comments says because it's history. No, it's not history. A statue don't have a damn thing to do with history. A statue is honoring history. Taking down a statue does not take away history. I'll give you a perfect example. What is his name? Joe Paterno, the coach of Penn State. I think he's deceased now, but he was involved in a whole pedophilia scandal where one of his right-hand men was knowingly abusing children. For some of you folks that have probably remember the story, Joe Paterno of Penn State, he was a coach of that football team, accomplished a hell of a lot with that team. A lot of wins, one of their most victorious coaches. He had a statue put up in front of the stadium in his honor because of all of the things he accomplished at Penn State. Once they found out he was actively assisting a pedophile, they took the statue down. Does that mean his history goes away? No. The statue is to honor a part of history you favor. History is going to be, I don't think any of us watching this program right now have a statue. Does that mean your grandkids are not going to know who the hell you were because no statue exists of you? Statue ain't got nothing to do with history. Statue is honoring history. And I will tell you this, by the way, too. Any of those statues you look at the base of it, there's a plaque that tells you about the person that is on, that the statue is created. You think that plaque is accurate? You think that plaque really tells you what that person was fighting for? So even suggesting that it's history, the shit that's on the plaque ain't even telling you all the truth. So no, that statues have nothing to do with history. Statues are a tribute. So that is a way to honor history. History exists whether there's a statue or not. When America conquered Iraq after Saddam Hussein, yeah, appreciate the hat and mustache from the Novocaine, thank you. When we conquered Iraq under Saddam Hussein, he had statues all over that damn country. Remember the video of us toppling one of his statues and the kids were hitting it with the bottom of their shoes because that is some kind of custom to shame folks in Iraq? They're hitting it. The U.S. took down all of the statues of Saddam Hussein. You think people don't know he existed in Iraq now? You think the whole history of Saddam Hussein disappeared because they don't have any statues anymore? That's crazy. You think Germans no longer know about Hitler because the statues are gone? Statue ain't got nothing to do with history. It's honoring history. See, Ivory Jules says she is East Indian. We talk about Kamala. I don't know what to say with that. You know you're wrong about you reckon Tony Blair and everything. What? Anthony, I don't get that. Where are the weapons of mass destruction, Tim? You know, I don't have an answer for that because Colin Powell showed us the trucks where the weapons were located and all that shit. I think we had legitimate reason to believe they had weapons of mass destruction because they got them from us during the Iraq-Iran war in the 80s. So we knew what they had. I don't know. Maybe he got rid of them. Maybe he destroyed them. Maybe he sold them. I just don't know. But we have weapons of mass destruction. I'm sounding like Trump about, when he was asked about Russia, we do the same shit. That's what he said in defense of Russia. Well, in defense of Iraq, we got all of it. And we're telling other countries, you cannot have what we have. It's kind of like a global Second Amendment ban. You can't have what we have. So if we are tyrannical, I'm about America, you can't defend yourself against it. That's what it really sounds like Americans are doing. It's like, you can't have what we have just in case we decide to do something. You can't defend yourself properly against us. What sort of timeline you're going for? To say that Iraq didn't have weapons of mass destruction. Well, they didn't find them, Anthony. Just say it that way. They didn't officially find the weapons of mass destruction. And by the way, they claimed it was weapons of mass destruction. Then they went to he's attacking his own people or whatever. I think even Trump got it right by saying that was the dumbest mistake in U.S. history. That's what Trump said. The Iraq War was the dumbest mistake in U.S. history. Anyhow, I do appreciate the 60K on the likes. Shorter program today. Appreciate that, but I do got some other things to get involved in. This your boy Tim the Handsome Liberal. I do got to go. Thank you as well on YouTube. Appreciate it. I'm out.